You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kaan Bayazit.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru atışını kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Yuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Hello, Black Eagles, and welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast, the first episode of this new 2024-2025 Super League season. We played our first game in the league against Samsunspor away. My name is Kaan Bayazit, and I'm going to introduce my co-host right now. As always, I am joined by the man from New York City, the man who's been with me since day one, Sinan Schwarting. Sinan.
Yeah. Hey,
doing?
everybody. New season. We're back, baby. Yeah, I think everyone's got smiles on their faces right about now, but I don't want to spoil any content. So, hello, everyone. Good to be back.
And joining us from Glasgow, New York, as he has been doing for the last 2 to 3 months, Mr. Kartal and Kaan. Kartal, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. But just a quick correction: it's not Glasgow, New York.
Did I say Glasgow, New York?
It's Glasgow, Scotland. Man.
Oh dear. Well. You got a nice little background there, I see, Kartal. Move your head. Who's in the frame there? Oh, it's Paulista.
Oh,
Okay,
Gabriel.
okay.
Let's go, man.
Nice one.
Again, it's a pleasure to be on the show again. Obviously, I've been a consistent fixture the last few months, so we're just going to obviously dissect this opening game, and I look forward to doing it with you two, as always.
Yeah, man. You're part of the team now. Don't even suggest it.
Alrighty. No, sorry. I was just checking something because I did do something. So normally where you see our pictures normally on the side of the screen, there should be live chat there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty small.
Oh, it is exactly. It is pretty small. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it works. That's important. I will go and increase that size. But in the meantime, we can continue talking a little bit. So, yeah, let's get to the meat and potatoes, I suppose. Beşiktaş beat Samsunspor on the road. It was a tough game, guys. 2-0 clean sheet. Rafa Silva scores again. Gabriel Paulista scores as well on his Super League debut. Fantastic assist by Simi Kilicsoy. But other than that, very few highlights. Even a little injury scare because Gabriel had to come off at halftime. He had played a fantastic first half, but he got tripped up really early on by, what's his name? Marius Muandilmaji. It's a very difficult name. I wrote it down. So he got tripped up by him, I think, and sprained his ankle there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could have been. I think it was a questionable yellow card, right? He kind of
He did
put out there a little bit.
He didn't get a yellow card. He didn't get carded at all.
No. That's what I mean. I questionable in that he should have probably gotten one. I think, but it didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean,
somehow. There was a couple of those, right? There was another one right afterwards too.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure if it was like on purpose or not.
Just a little reckless. Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily intentional, but it was still dangerous, right? Like, that foot was dangling, and it seemed unnecessary. Like, it felt like he kind of stuck it out unnecessarily, and not necessarily with ill intent, but nonetheless, right?
Yeah,
it's dangerous. He might have actually injured a dude. That's against the rules.
Yeah. It is a very important dude, man.
Yeah, and let's talk about that first half, guys. I got some stuff lined up, but before that, I want to get your thoughts on the game. Kartal, let's start with you. What did you think about the match? How did the Black Eagles play? What did you think of Samsunspor? What are your main takeaways from the match before we get into the details?
I think really, from our point of view, in terms of the actual game itself, it was very bad. Like we were poor. Samsunspor, I actually thought were very good. I was very impressed with them. They created a good few chances, I felt. But I think the main thing for us is just that individual quality we have, and to give great credit to Gio and his team. It was one of the goals was individual quality, and I think the other one was just a very well drawn out, organised set play, which we'll later on. So I think just that individual moments of beauty from like Immobile, like Semi, and obviously eventually Rafa on that first goal. And then the second goal shortly after, well, it was a very well organised set play off the corner. Like they kind of bailed us out a wee bit because from the whole, if you look at the full game, they were very poor. And actually, Samsunspor, I thought, were the better team. So I think it was a game where just a wee set play drawn up by the manager that's obviously been drilled into the players, and a bit of our individual quality saw us through. And well, maybe a bit fortunate as well with that result as well, because I did think Samsun were the better team.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think so too. Yeah, I think Samsunspor were by far the better team. They definitely, I watched a bunch of games this weekend. Obviously, I watched Galatasaray, I watched Fenerbahce, I watched Trabzonspor. And, we're not watching the games right now because there's 2 games on at the moment. Bodrumspor maybe.
Yeah, Bodrum. And
yeah.
that's actually here too, right?
So obviously didn't watch those games. But from the teams that I saw, especially, from the Anadolu teams, the Samsunspor looked very hungry. And they by far the most impressive side that I've seen. Now, the big question is that because they were good or because we were bad? I don't quite know. But then, on the other hand, I thought Galatasaray were terrible, and I still thought Hatay was poor too. Adanaspor were maybe a little bit better, but like they lacked the quality. They were definitely nowhere near Samsunspor. And of course, you need to keep in mind both those teams were away from home. Sivasspor I kind of watched peripherally, so they seemed pretty decent and maybe the better side for the majority of the game, but then towards the end it seems like they ran out of gas, and then Trabzonspor had a little bit more left in the can maybe. But I mean, same can be said about Samsunspor. I think, for about 60 minutes I thought they were really good, and then the last half hour, I'm not saying they didn't have like some moments, but it really did feel like the pressure was relenting a little bit. And also, of course, that had to do with Giovanni's substitutions.
And his tactical, he shifted the whole team around with his subs, and I thought that a lot of people were critical that it was kind of negative football. I mean, no doubt, like he was totally trying to kill the game, but I thought that was kind of wise, right? He saw that the momentum was shifting their way for much of the game. I think he recognized that. Look, we have to be serious about Samsun as well. They're one of very few teams in the Super League these days that has a genuine, passionate fan base. Especially these days with like half of the league being these sort of B tier Istanbul sides. It's never going to be that easy to go to Samsun and have like an easy time. I would suggest, and of course, I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm sure we've done it, but they're pretty well organized. I think we all saw that, and despite that, we had these moments of brilliance. A moment of tactical brilliance, as Kartal alluded to. I thought he was right. That set play was something we haven't seen in a long time, right?
When's the last time we saw something like that? Honestly,
honestly, I can't remember it at all.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm guessing maybe. Remember, there used to be this thing with Gökhan Gönül and like Atiba, where they would like someone would be on the back post. Like we used to have something, but it was pretty like rudimentary. This was. Dude, there was like people running routes and stuff. I mean, it was like an NFL play. It was crazy. So no, that was amazing.
Yeah, I was literally just cross it to the front post while Gökhan.
And then bop it towards the goal. Yeah, exactly. But
intricate and complex.
But yeah, this was wild, and what was I gonna say? Just generally, I thought the tactical shift with all the subs. We went to 3 men back with Amir Hadziametovic getting his debut, with Kali in the middle and Necip on the right, and then Masuaku stayed as the left wing back with Onur coming on as the right wing back, and then I think all match something that I really appreciated was the way Masuaku was able to go forward, and because of Svensson's defensive kind of tactical awareness and general, having a little sparkling water. Given his technical awareness defensively, Svensson could really hold the back line and come back and kind of hold a back three while Masuaku was messing around up front, and then shift when he needed to. Sometimes Masuaku got caught out when he needed to come back on defense. That's always been kind of an issue of his, but I don't know, man. Like I really thought we were seeing, although obviously we didn't have nearly enough of the ball and they looked the more dangerous side. We were doing something. It just wasn't quite coming off. Like our passing was very inefficient, very inaccurate.
Yeah.
That obviously can't continue. And there are still clearly some pieces missing. I mean, you know it. So when Onur Bulut came in to be on the right wing back slot, we had to slide Svensson into like a right defensive mid, right? You had two defensive midfielders back there that's a personnel issue, right? And so when, for example, if this Italian fellow arrives, Chér, we might have to start doing karaoke, by the way, soon. But if he arrives, that makes it gives us a much better option when we decide to make a tactical shift like that. And someone who can hold the ball and maybe be more, and then we can keep Svensson over there on the right side. Again, Svensson is for me maybe the man of the match. I think it's either he or Paulista probably. Obviously, like Rafa Silva's goal was sublime. As well as Semi's assist, but I don't think anyone's giving Semi man of the match. Even though I think people are over the top with criticism in some ways, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm going way off. I'm doing too much analysis here, but I think you get the drift.
Yeah, I made a bunch of notes before I start rattling them down. Kartal, do you have anything that you want to pick in on there from what Sinan had to say?
I think a lot of it is spot on, to be honest. I just actually want to mention something about what Umar wrote in the comments. He said that the second goal against Galatasaray also was similar. He's right. It was the same kind of run, the space for the cross in both of those positions. Obviously, this was a bit different. That was open playing, that was a corner, but it was the same idea. So I just thought that was a great comment from Umar, and thought I'd point that out. I just think the problem, I think a big part of the problem yesterday was the pitch. The pitch was really bad. Al Musrati, who's normally a great passer for us, made a lot of passing mistakes.
Yeah, that might have contributed to what we were talking about.
It's not a passing mistake sometimes anyway, but yesterday they made a lot of passing mistakes. That Al Musrati yesterday I felt was actually good, very good defensively, but normally his main strong suit is his passing. It was actually the passing that lacked yesterday, I think, because I think a big part of that is to do with how bad the pitch was. I mean, everyone was kind of complaining about it after it. And also I think it's just clear to see that we are missing kind of profiles in this team. There's holes in this team that need filled, and I guess the stronger opposition last week, Galatasaray, it wasn't really evident, but today, or last night, I should say, it was last night, that was more on show. I mean, our wings were kind of, they weren't really functioning at all. I think we could probably agree on that. They weren't really functioning the whole game.
How much do you think the humidity had to do with that? Because it was pretty warm still. It was late in the evening. The game was being played at 20:45 local time.
And still it was quite warm apparently, right?
And towards the end of the game, I actually asked in our group chat, how warm is it in Samsun right now? And the answer I got was 26 degrees, and that was almost at the end of the game. So I imagine that, that's at like 11 at night. So I imagine at 20:45, it probably was like 28, 29, plus super humid because it's at the Black Sea. And also, towards the end there, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I really had the impression that Samsunspor ran out of gas, and we ran out of gas maybe as well. I don't know.
I think maybe everyone did apart from Jedson Fernandez, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Even Rafa Silva seemed to finally tire a little bit.
Yeah, Rafa got subbed, I think, around 71st minute or something.
Yeah.
I think at that point Gio was happy, felt that the 3 points were in the bag, and I think he even said in his post-match interview, like, he literally said something along the lines of, sometimes you just need to read a game, and you need to see what the match needs. And
Yeah.
I think he read the game well because, look, it was a difficult game. We struggled from the first minute until the end, basically, right? Like, Samsun were the better side. We go 2 goals up, and I myself was of the opinion, why doesn't he put Mucci in? You know, why doesn't he do this? Why doesn't he do that? And I think everyone kind of shared that sentiment of why no Mucci? Why no, maybe Mustafa Hekimola or whatever. But then, after listening to him talk and reflecting on it a little bit, I kind of agree with him. Like, you're 2-0 up.
Yeah.
What is the point in trying to turn the game around, you know? Like, you don't have to. The most important thing you have to do is make sure you get that 2-0 over the line. Like, you can go and put on Mucci, you can go and put on Mustafa Hekimol or whatever. You can go and try to play better football. But what is the point, really? Like, is there a point when you're 2-0 up to try and play better football? Like, there isn't really, I think. And I understand this. And this is also kind of what we got from Gio, what the description about Giovanni was. Sometimes he can be a little pragmatic. Sometimes he will, like, he cares about winning. He's not so much concerned about whether the football is always great or anything like that. Obviously, I think we saw against Galatasaray that our football can be really good under the right circumstances. And I definitely think that against Antalya next week, I definitely expect us to be much better. But yeah, I don't think at 2-0...
Oh, sorry, you finished, Kaan.
No, go ahead. Sorry, Kartal.
I was just going to say that, I mean, in terms of maybe like playing really nice football, like we have seen that in the friendlies. I think against Grazer, against Gensler, I mean, especially, I think we played beautiful football. We did.
Yeah.
Galatasaray, it was a phenomenal tactical performance. Great. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, this one was kind of more of this was a scrappy one by kind of all accounts of the phrase. But yeah, I mean, we've kind of seen different aspects to him already. Well, in those friendlies, obviously they were friendlies, and the quality of the opposition was questionable. But we saw beautiful football in those friendlies. We saw parts of beautiful football against Galatasaray, but more just this perfect tactical plan that completely nullified the opponent. And allowed us to be dangerous when we had the ball. And then in this last game, we saw a scrappy win. So already we've kind of seen how we were able to get results in different circumstances under Van Bronckhorst. Obviously, I wasn't happy with the performance yesterday. I don't think any of us were. But it's very important to be able to get these results when the game's not going your way. And Kaan, there's actually something I want to point out about you were referring to about the subs. If you noticed, we actually went for more players that had more physical attributes rather than players with technical.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of that was to do with, look, maybe Gio saw Al Masrati struggling. The guys, we've got this world-class passer that's struggling to pass because this pitch is so bad. It's like a potato field. So I think before that, instead of that, he just put on like physical players that could get stuck in and obviously like help kind of defend that 2-0 lead. And that's what we've done because this game wasn't a game that called for technical prowess after 2-0. It was a game that kind of called for our players to get stuck in because, I mean, even our great technical players like Rafa Silva had a moment of beauty, same as Semi, on that first goal. But apart from that, they weren't really that good. They struggled as well with that pitch.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note that, we've never seen our side coached by Gio give up that much of the ball, right? This was a kind of first. And it's, I think, very much dependent on the fact that his style of possession is dependent on quick passing, right? Like pinging the ball around, especially in the back, right? The whole horseshoe thing and all that. and that, like, you find an opening and you kind of connect with the midfield and they kind of ping it around, right? And obviously on this pitch that was impossible. And I mean, on the one hand, that's something you're going to have to contend with in Turkey, right? We see this a little more often than you'd like.
Yeah.
But it's good. Like, it was good to see him react to that, kind of find the strategy. Like, one thing you can say about the end of the match is, even though they had more of the ball, and I think they kind of buffed their possession numbers a bit there, they had no real opportunities, right? Like, they couldn't find any good angles. We were really choking out the middle of the park. And I think that was kind of what needed to happen with the ball, kind of, without anyone being able to pass the ball especially well. So, it was a good reaction. The concern, I guess, is, and what I guess he's going to have to consider now as a plan B is, like, what do you do when you can't ping the ball around the way you want to, the way you want to hold. Like, his possession style seems to be dependent on getting the ball to move around the pitch quickly. So, like, what do you do when that's less than, the way you'd want it to be? Yeah,
for sure.
What do you think, Kaan? Like, do you think there's a solution for that even? Like, I think there must be.
I mean, you know what? That's one of those things when I think everyone, and especially like fans of the big three clubs, I think we've been annoyed by the fact that these pitches of Anadolu teams are in such terrible conditions. And, sometimes it's also a case of the pot calling the kettle black, because our pitch hasn't been in the best condition throughout
after
the
that
years.
concert.
Yeah, exactly. But I really think that the TFF need to, like, if Turkish football wants to evolve, I think one of the important things is, like, clubs make massive investments. Look, Sam Maximum at Fenerbahce is costing them 8 million a year. Ciro and Rafa are making 6 million a year. Galatasaray's whole team is making 10 million a year. Those are players that are investments by these clubs, and you can't have these players have to play on potato fields all the time. If you remember, like, when Mersin İdman, do you guys remember that when they played in the top flight, and their pitch was literally like a proper potato field. It was horrible. It's terrible. It's dangerous for injuries.
I'm pretty sure they sprinkled grass on the pitch to make it look like there wasn't ball spots.
Oh yeah, that happened as well. I think that was with Bursaspor. They had like these muddy puddles, and they'd like paint them or something.
Yeah, the paint.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't quite understand, like, how expensive can it really be? And of course, it's expensive to maintain a good pitch. I'm not saying it's not, but in the grand scheme of things, where we're talking millions in terms of annual budgets, they should have a couple of 100,000 put aside to maintain their pitches. And if they can't, then the TFF need to step in, fine them or something, take those fines and do it themselves. Like, it's absolutely scandalous. Yeah,
I agree.
And obviously, I don't think we should use the terrible condition of the pitch as an excuse for our bad play yesterday. I think that was just simply Samsunspor were very well prepared. You can't forget Samsunspor, essentially exactly the same team as last season, so their chemistry is built up already. Of course, that comes with...
They were a lot better than Galatasaray. I got it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes with pluses and minuses, of course. Like, you not being able to really bring in any reinforcements in the summer or in January, that's a big minus. They also went into last season with 5 consecutive losses, but then, they rebounded pretty well under that German coach. I already forgot his name. Now they have another German coach, Thomas Reis, who clearly is doing a good job. I think he's a good coach, probably one of the better ones in the league, quite frankly. And then, it's really a case of them being a good cohesive unit with good chemistry. They had a good plan, I think, and they put us under a lot of pressure. Especially the first 5 to 7 minutes, I thought they really put on the pressure, and it was really dangerous.
Yeah.
We couldn't win the second ball, I felt like. And then we kind of restored balance a little bit for, from minute 10 to minute 15. I felt like we were growing into the game. Then they took over again. Then we scored twice. And yeah, that's kind of, that's kind of the procedure of the game. So for us, I think it really was just weathering the storm, surviving, and coming through that unscathed, and then just, hit them pats, like Fatih Terim likes to say. Just hit them bam, bam, bam. And that's what we did essentially. I got a couple of notes here I wrote down. So obviously, the biggest scare of the game, I think, was in the 16th minute when Marius, I'm just going to call him Marius. So when he scored, but it was an offside. Were you guys holding your heart a little bit at that time, or were you confident that it was offside?
I was confident offside.
Yeah.
I was nervous. I'm always nervous.
Me too. Yeah, I'm always nervous as well, especially when they flag quickly. I'm always like, maybe he saw it wrong. Exactly. And also something I found really typical in this game was I felt like they were early on really strong in the challenges, really hard, and it really felt like they were trying to intimidate us, like going. Yeah,
they really set the tempo early for sure.
Yeah, and I like the referee, I felt should have pulled his cards way sooner. I understand that you don't want to start pulling cards straight away sometimes, but when they come in that hard, I think you just have to pull those cards. And then it was so typical that on I don't quite have the minute mark down here, but Masuaku was the first one to get booked, and I didn't even I'm gonna show the position in a second. Like, I don't even think that's a yellow, especially after some of the positions that came beforehand with I don't forget the Moroccan player's name, but like he came in pretty tough, and there
was two, so they could have gotten a yellow for the foul on Paulista, or the injury Paulista had.
Yeah,
and then there was a play right after that. I forgot who.
Yeah,
there was a really harsh tackle that also probably deserved a yellow. And that was one that everyone was talking about.
You know what? I'll check the name, because I agree that was really a very poor challenge. So let's see, what's his name? It's Benacer. Ayed Benacer. Like he came in, I don't remember who it was on even, but it was a really tough challenge. Later in the match, there was a really dirty tackle I felt from their Dutch defender, whose name eludes me right now. Van Drongelen. Van Drongelen on Rafa, which, I mean, that was like bordering maybe on a red even. And there were moments like that where I really felt like the referee, he should be there to protect the players. And not just our players, obviously also their players, but I think when the opposition is going in just too hard, then the ref needs to be there to protect them. And he has to set the tone early on. He can't
And I was going to say, he let Samsun basically set the tempo by being really physical and kind of, the high press that was very effective to their defense. But that's a scenario where the ref needs to be the one who's setting the tone as far as like what's allowed, what's not allowed, not allowing the game to get too physical and escalate, right? So, I agree fully. Like he was a little bit too carefree with his whistle there in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think we really needed a good Gabriel Paulista to lead that line in the first half. He had a lot of very important clearances.
He was great.
I thought we defended actually really quite well. They were all over us. They were dangerous. But if you noticed, like almost all their positions, like we kind of forced them out. We closed them down really well. I think Ncham had a couple of shooting, like where they clearly, one of their tactics was get Ncham the ball at the edge of the area. And there were several moments where he tried to line up for a shot, and our guys did really well to close him down and didn't give him a proper angle to shoot from. I think one of the most dangerous moments in the first half was, or was it even the second half? I don't remember. It might have been the second.
Where he hit the post.
No, that wasn't Ncham. That was their left back, I think. Bola, 18-year-old on loan from Samsunspor, if I'm not mistaken. Bola is his name. He's the one who hit the post. One thing that also stood out to me is really how Zeki Yavru, it says Zeki Yavru, I think, right? How he really marked Semi incredibly tight. He was like just stuck on him like a fly stuck to a horse's poo.
That's how they do it. That's glad that I did that against him too. I mean, it's effective. It seems to frustrate him, but
Zeki had a great game, but I think I'm like, come on, man, you need to give up on that here.
I know, man. Like, just Either go to Istanbul, get it fixed, or just shave it.
You're in the hair transplant capital of the world, my friend. Yeah, that's funny.
For sure.
No, yeah, you're right, Khan.
But
And like I was saying earlier, I think that back line being able to shift, and I think you've got to credit Gio for this, but like having Svensson be able to kind of make there be a permanent back three so that Masuaku can wander, it really made it like, yeah, like you said, like there was always someone between them and the goal, which kind of forced them to resort to shots from distance, and they had a couple dangerous ones, right? Like that one that hit the post. But that's the best they could really come away with, it seemed like.
I think they actually did have a fair amount of chances. I counted maybe
in the first half, yeah.
I counted chances they had like over the full game. I think we did do quite a good job in like making it hard for them, but they still created chances, and I'd rather we didn't give us away as many chances. I felt maybe if we were playing against a more talented side and more clinical players, they maybe could have got a couple of goals. Could have done, as Umar said. I mean,
I agree with that.
They were the better team. Like they were better than us. And Umar said that we basically won the game with 15 minutes of good football. I don't even think it was that. I think it was two good moments from us. And then they were really the better team in the rest of the game. But just I'd rather see us not giving away those positions. But I do think like Kahn's right in saying, even the positions we gave, we always made it hard for them, you know. Yeah. So I do agree with that, but I'd rather we didn't give away those positions at all. Because I mean, against Galatasaray, we done a lot better defensively, you know. Maybe that was just because we were more focused, but I felt one thing I want to say is I don't think either of you have addressed yet. I think, especially in the start of the game, Colley really struggled against their number 9. Was it Marcus? You said his name was
Marius.
Marius
Gilo.
Colley really struggled against him, and Paulista was amazing. But
he's a really good player, to be honest. Like Marius,
he was last year against us as well.
He's gonna.
Hey guys, I've got some breaking news.
Yeah,
I've got some breaking news, and it's not Kartal style. You know, it's not gonna be about like Liverpool. I'm just kidding. Kartal. Chér has landed.
Do you believe in it?
Do you believe in life after love? Well, Chér, what's his name? Chér Ndour?
Ndour, yeah.
He has landed in Istanbul. The eagle has landed.
Yeah.
The Italian eagle.
We'll check it out.
Marius Muandel Maggi.
Yeah, that's how you write it. Yeah. We'll
Twitter.
Check are they live?
Twitter is doing that thing where it like loads for a long time. I hate that. Like I don't know why it does that nowadays, but so I can't update. But our man Evran reported in via back channels, if you will. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Well, maybe
we'll get there later, though. We'll talk.
Yeah,
about
we'll get there later, depending.
Unless we have a video. I mean, I don't know, Khan. If you want to look into that.
They do not have one up right now, so I'll keep an eye on it. In the meantime, let's just continue doing our match review, I suppose.
Sure. Umar, by the way, should we do a little commentary?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's review your comments, folks. And first of all, good evening and hello to all of you who did said your hellos and all that. As Kartal said, Umar talked about the second goal against Galatasaray being similar. Agreed. Yeah, I'll skip some of the stuff we already talked about. Jason said Galatasaray and Fener were abysmal as well. To be fair, that's definitely worth noting. We'll probably talk about that after we do our game analysis. Marcus Gisdol was the previous coach. Yeah, Samson loved German firefighter coaches. Gezgin says Masuk got booked in the 17th minute, but we finished the game with only one yellow, so that's a win, and that is a huge win. And then Umar said that Necip's double mistake was a bit nerve-wracking. And yeah, I mean, look, whenever Necip plays, it's always a little nerve-wracking, right? Like that comes with the territory of a Necip appearance.
He's either going to be brilliant or he's going to cost you a goal. There's no in between.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And it's usually like a mix of the both. He didn't cost us a goal yesterday.
Exactly.
He did give away back-to-back balls, which was scary. But
sure,
I mean, not that scary. That was right near the end of the game. I think if they scored there, we still would have won the game. But obviously, it's good to keep that clean sheet on opening day.
Yeah, for sure. Also, worth mentioning, I mean, I think we completely scored against a run of play in the second half. We already talked about it, but Gio not making, not even trying to, pretend. He just put on Can Onana for Simi, same sub he made against Galatasaray, by the way. He put Amir Hadziametovic on for his debut, so we were playing with a 5-man back line. Then later on, he even took Rashica off, like Sinan already mentioned, for Onur. So it was really all about getting and dragging that 2-0 across the finish line. One thing I did want to mention as well, like, Yasin mentioned this, like Galatasaray Fenerbahçe didn't play well either, for sure. Also, on top of that, they both had their home games. They both played at home. This was away. I think Samsun away, I mean, it's early days right now, but I don't think I'm going out too far on a limb saying that Samsun is probably one of the tougher away games. Samsun, Sivas, Konya, those are the ones that kind of stand out to me at the moment from the top of my head. Those are the teams that also have a decent... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Kartal. What?
Göztepe as well. That's
of course. Of course, Göztepe.
Sure.
I mean, it has to remain. We have to remain and see how good Göztepe are actually gonna be, of course, this season. But just anecdotally going purely off of the fact that they actually have a decent home crowd, you'd expect them to be one of the tougher opponents as well, for sure. I think 3 points in the bag against Samsun. And like I mentioned before, Samsun is a team that are very cohesive already. They have a team that's been together for a while now. Thomas Reis, I don't know him super well. I think Jason in the chat, he's more familiar with him. But he did come across to me as a really decent coach. And I wouldn't be surprised if Samsunspor have a comfortable season. I don't think they'll struggle like they did last season. I think they'll be okay this season. And like I said at the top of the show, I really thought that they were, from the teams I've seen so far play this weekend, from the Anadolu teams. They've impressed me probably the most of all. Another interesting thing, because obviously Muleka, there's a situation going on there with will he go, will he stay? Then he's being put on. That's maybe also a message from the coach that maybe Muleka will stay, I think. We talked about it a little bit already that Mucci didn't come on. Gio was actually asked about that after the game. And Gio just very straightforward said, look, I analyzed the game. I didn't think the match that we were playing, or the match how it was developing, asked for, an offensive player to be put in. It rather asked for, to get that 2-0 across the finish line, and that's just what he did. Did you guys also notice how Amir Hadziametovic was celebrating after the game, by the way, and doing it? He seems really overjoyed. And then we mentioned this already, but Zeki Avro really had Semi in his pocket, other than that one moment. And guys, I want to take you to some of those highlight moments from the game. I am going to try not to get us flagged.
Oh, man, don't do this again, mate. Come on.
They're super short. They're super short. So let's hope it works.
This is going to get flagged, man.
Let's see. No, it's actually really small things. So I've got a picture up here first. So this is the offside decision on the goal from Marius. Kartal, help me out. What was it? How was it again?
Wait there. I'll need to get you sent it to me, so I'll need to.
Muandilmaji.
Yeah, Marius Muandilmaji. So this is the offside position as per BN Sports, as you can see at the top corner there. So it wasn't. I mean, it's a clear offside. I don't think you can argue about that. But it wasn't as clear as the two offsides in the Galatasaray game. But we do have to mention, this is 3 goals now that we have conceded in our 2 official games, and all 3 of them were offside positions. I think it was pretty clear in the Galatasaray game that we are playing with a very deliberate offside line. And it worked again here. This one was a little tighter. And obviously, at some point, that offside trap isn't going to work and you're going to concede. But 3 goals in 2 matches, not bad. They seemingly practiced it well. And Gabriel Paulista, very important in that, of course. Also ali, this is the goal position. It's just a quick ball over the top. It taps it in.
You're never going to learn a lesson, man, Ali.
And then
See-
offside. That's like 10 seconds. And then
It
here's
was
our
lovely seeing you guys. I'm just kidding.
and then here is our fantastic goal. And I think, this is the highlight of the game. This is the game changing moment. Really, it's this assist by Simi. It's the run by Rafa. It's both of those things. Also worth mentioning, this is with his left foot. He's right-footed. It's a volleyed pass over, I don't know what it was. It was like 45, 50 meters, maybe more. I'm not 100% sure.
On a rope, too.
Yeah, and worth mentioning as well, this play started all the way back in our own box. Ciro Immobile cleared the ball with his head. Then the ball kind of got stuck in midfield, ping-ponging around a little bit. Then Immobile chests it down for Simi, who then rifles that pass on towards Rafa. And just, quickly showing you that play. I mean, look at that pass. And Rafa threw on goal and scores. Fantastic
What's more
goal.
impressive, the control, the sprint, and the finish of the pass.
Yeah. And then this
is...
And then this is another moment I wanted to show you guys. This is the second goal. So you can see here in the bottom corner. This is just a still picture, Sinan. If they flag us for this...
I thought you were going to start the video.
No, this is a still picture. This is a still picture I took from the live broadcast, from the post-match marathon broadcast, or I don't know, they still call it marathon. So as you can see here, look, it's a sea of space. Look at how much space Masuaku has here. Like there's absolutely nobody putting pressure on the ball. He has all the time in the world to cross that in. And then, of course, Gabriel Paulista heads it home. And I'm just going to show you quickly, guys. Look. Rafa takes it short. And then look what Rafa does. Keep an eye on Rafa. He runs towards the center, pulls the defender with him, leaving Masuaku completely unmarked, who then crosses it in for the goal. So, that is fantastic training ground material right there. But it's really...
Just to point back to what Amir was saying, see for the second goal against Galatasaray, Svensson done a similar run so that Rashika was free to do the cross.
Yeah.
So that's a similarity. So that's clearly something that's been drilled into the team in training, and it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's a real plan. It's already in 2 official games. It's worked twice. Yeah. So what I was saying, Kaan, I don't know if you heard me or understood me, but I was saying, what's more impressive to you, the pass from Simi or the actual control, run and finish from Rafa? What would you say?
I think the pass, for me, I think the pass is more impressive because it's really difficult technically. It's also perfectly given in between the defender and the space for Rafa. I mean, obviously the control from Rafa, the run from Rafa is sublime. But that's also, I think that's also clearly something that they've been instructed. Like, it's also something I was seeing in the preseason friendlies already, and it's something that Anna told us when we were doing our Rafa. What's that Sinan that you're holding up right there?
Chér Ndour doing the Kartal and
Oh, nice.
Here.
Yeah, nice one.
It's official.
Yeah. Well, he still has to pass the
almost.
medical, of course.
Not quite official, but yeah.
But yeah, like that's something that Anna highlighted. He always likes to dip into those pockets of space. We've talked about it. We've seen it many times already at this point. Like we saw it against Shakhtar in the friendlies. We saw it against Chér Ndour. We saw it. I mean, pretty much in any friendly he's played in, we've seen Rafa find those holes in the back of the defense. And yeah, so far it's clear that players have been clearly tasked to pass the ball to Rafa in a deep position. And I think that's also part of the problem for Mucci is Rafa is extremely central to the plan here. That is clear. Can Mucci do the same thing? He's a different type of player. I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, Rafa is a player with a very specific skill set that I don't think a lot of players have to that extent. But that also brings with it, of course, dangers. If Rafa gets injured, if Rafa is suspended, we'll have to play in a different way. Because Rafa is extremely important for how we're playing already. And it's only our second official game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kaan in our group chat, Kaan says that basically we've got our group chat with our friends. Kaan said that he thinks it's a shame that Rafa's already 31. If he came a few years earlier, he could have had like an Alex Afed for us, and I think that's very true. I think even now, this season, it's looking like he's going to put up Alex numbers.
Yeah.
Like the guy done it in Portugal for years, so there's no reason why he can't do that in Turkey.
Yeah.
So I think we've signed, like honestly, like we've signed one of the best players that's ever came to the Super League, I think, and we've signed him at his peak, just off his best season in his career. It's just a shame that his peak came at 31. But let's be honest, if this guy like was peaked at 25, there's no way he's coming to Turkey. The only reason he didn't go to the Premier League is the fact that he was 31, and Premier League teams are a bit wary about picking up guys at the wrong side of 30, even if they've actually just peaked there. Like Rafa peaked last season. He's been consistently phenomenal. He's almost his full career, but he had statistically his best numbers in his career, and then came to us, and that's brilliant. Like, I mean, I think we should really cherish the time that we're going to have together. I think we'll have a nice 3 years together. But as you said, it's just a shame that he couldn't have came in his mid-20s and he couldn't have like dominated for like a decade. I mean, that would have been unbelievable. In that case, the guy might have ended up being like alongside Alex in discussion for like best Super League player ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if he came just a few years earlier, even at 28, you know, you have a couple of extra years, then yeah, I totally agree with you. Here's the lineups from the game, by the way, guys. I probably should have pulled these up earlier, but yeah, here's the lineups if you are interested in seeing those. So Muan Dilmaji was the striker for Samsunspor. They had Schindler on the right, Jose behind the striker, Muya on the left. Then Ncham, who I thought had a really good game in the middle together with Ait Ben Nasser. And then they had at the back Siki Yavru, who we already mentioned, Shatka, Van Drongelen, and Bola. Bola, of course, the guy who had that shot against the post. And then finally Okan Kochuk in goal. For us, it was Mert in goal, Svensson, Paulista, Kohli, Masuaku, Al-Musrati, Jetson, surprisingly, Rasichka, Immobile, Rafa Silva, and Simi. I mean, the big surprise, I think, before this game probably was the fact that both Jetson and both Jetson and Kohli started the game, because they came out, you know, with a minor injury from the Super Cup. And I think a lot of rumors were going around already. Kohli, I had the impression that people were getting the sense that he was gonna play, but Jetson, yeah, Sali was gonna play. That was the rumor, and then he ends up playing the entire 90 minutes. And yeah, it was a typical Jetson game again, right? It was a lot of winning, a lot of winning duels, a lot of bad passes. Typical Jetson, a lot of runs with the ball at his feet, which he's so good at. He's such a weird player.
We needed it. In this match, we really needed those two because of the pitch and how he couldn't really pass well on it, right? That was the only way we got the ball upfield, like I'd say half the time.
See, the ironic side of all this is Jetson, as Karen was saying, was supposedly hurt and was quite like it was like meant to be like a game day decision whether or not he played. But the guy right at the end of the game ran like half the length of the pitch and went 1-on-1 with the keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the guy, despite supposedly like being hurt, was still like the only guy on the pitch the entire. So that's just a testament to the absolute freak athlete he is, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fully agree. Guy is an absolute monster. And it's one of those things, you know, I mean, a lot of people hate on him, and I understand why, because he has very clear deficiencies. But the things he does well, he does so well. He is elite at ball winning. He's elite at ball carrying, elite in duels. I mean,
yeah,
he does those things so well. If only he... I think we need to be realistic. If this guy could pass the ball properly, he'd still be at Tottenham, you know? He'd probably be at a top team in England, actually, not Tottenham. But, yeah, I mean... if he could just do that. I even think with the qualities he has right now, he is the wet dream for a lot of English teams, quite frankly, because they love these types of players. I'm surprised that he's still with us. There was
another position in the game, actually. It was just to highlight it. I think Jedson was running at it, and he didn't pass. He waited and Rafa and Immobile. I think don't quote me because obviously it was yesterday. I can't remember, but I'm sure he had two runners, Rafa and Immobile, coming off him, and he just waited, and then he waited so long the pass was off, and then he just kind of had to go back, and that just kind of sums it up, man. His decision making and his passes are not great, but as you said, the things he does well, he does it's A+. He's ball winning, his ball carrying, his ability in the duels, his never-ending stamina in those facets of the game. The guy's as good as you can get, man. But as I said, I've said multiple times, is the guys get clear deficiencies as well. But yeah, I think this was another game that just kind of perfectly sums up Jedson Fernandez as a football. I think we saw that again today.
Yeah, for sure. Let's have a little look at some stats, guys. I got some major stats up here. Oh, that's the wrong. Well, actually, that's the wrong image. But yeah.
Patreon. You can access that.
I'm sorry, I didn't have you loaded in there, so they couldn't hear you. But yeah, guys, let me actually. I'll just do that quickly. So, guys, for $1.99 a month, you can join the Black Eagle VIP Patreon program. So that's just a way for you to support the Black Eagles podcast, for us to cover our expenses and all that kind of stuff. If you want to help us out, go on and become a Patreon member at Black Eagle, a Black Eagle VIP member at patreon.com/BEŞİKTAŞ podcast. You won't just not get anything in return, by the way. You will actually get a VIP exclusive audio podcast in return for that. So for $1.99 a month, you can become a VIP member. And it's a 7-day free trial. You can try it out. There's actually also already a couple of episodes up on there. So if you want to give it a try, then you can do so for free for 7 days. If you don't like it, then you can always opt out and you won't be billed. Don't forget to do so, of course, before the end of your 7-day free trial. And if you do like it, stick around and we'll create you some extra content, I should say.
That's great value. $1.99 is phenomenal value. I mean, that's a lot cheaper than a coffee. See, that's coffee. Maybe you're buying a coffee every day. $1.99 a month. Just to listen to and sometimes maybe me and Sinan will be on there as well, talking. I mean, phenomenal value. Support the podcast. Help cover the expenses, because obviously the guys pay hosting fees and stuff like that, and not just that as well. That money, if we get enough, will also be it's not for us really. It's to really go back into the podcast and do more cool things for you guys. Like the giveaway we done with the Kartal USCU. This can allow us to do these things independently, and I've got some other ideas as well that I'll propose to the boys. And maybe if we get enough money of it, we can give away match tickets and stuff like that as well. So it's really just a way for us to make this better for you.
That would actually be really cool, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's a great thing for us. It's not something that we are looking, we are going to make. It's just to cover the expenses and reinvest back into the podcast itself and do more cool things for you guys. So if you could help out with that $1.99 a month, it'd be much appreciated, guys.
And
we've talked about a lot of exclusive content and stuff too. Maybe, if we get enough traction on it and there's enough interest, who knows? There's talk of maybe an NBA stub podcast if Kartal wants to jump on, or his brother could give us the Alfred and Şengün update. I don't know. There's lots of fun ideas in the works, but so yeah, stay tuned for that. But anyway, that's. And
if you prefer to just give us a tip or anything like that, you can always do so with in the comments. In the show notes, you can actually find. We have activated super chats and stuff like that, or just a simple tip system, and your name will should pop up on the screen if you leave a tip. So yeah, you can leave a €1 tip. It starts at €1. You can go as high as you want, but don't be crazy, of course. And yeah, all of that money will just go back into the podcast essentially, and we will hopefully do some fun stuff with it. I also have some ideas already. Maybe we can in the future give away some football games or something like that. We'll see what we do with it. And of course, like Katla mentioned, we have our annual costs with the. We still have our audio podcast. Actually, we upload this podcast on in audio form still as well, and the hosting for that is actually pretty expensive. YouTube is free, and Kartal said, "Oh, let's just go full YouTube, sawed off the actual hosting for the audio podcast." But we still have like 35 people who listen on audio every week, so I kind of feel like we need to keep that going until.
And with the audio thing, you buy an RSS feed, which you can use for, if it ever gets to a point where you want to do more with it or whatever, right? It gives you more flexibility, variability. So, yeah, there's other benefit to that you get. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, let's go.
These stats.
Let's get into these stats. So I didn't have like a plethora of stats. I just have the main ones, so the most important ones up here on the screen. And then something that really stood out to me as well. But Sinan, maybe you can go over the stats, the main stats for us first. And if you want to follow along, guys, obviously you can do so on the screen. But all these stats are from FODMOB. So if you just want to go and deep dive...
If you're on Spotify, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you just want to deep dive into the stats, just go check out on FODMOB. These stats literally come from there. So...
but so yeah, we had 58%. Oh, sorry, no, they. I'm sorry, Kartal. Did you want to say something?
I was just pointing out that the FODMOB stats, they come from Opta, so they're as reliable as it gets, really. So I just thought.
Yeah. No, FODMOB is a great resource, actually, and it's fun because you can kind of follow other teams, leagues, individual players. So it's I'm not sure why we're advertising FODMOB, but they are a great resource. If they want to give us money, we'll gladly advertise them more. Anyway. So this was the surprising part. Samson had 58% of the ball to our 42, but of course, they were also behind for the vast majority of this game. And like we said, they came out with intent, they came out with purpose, and they really set the tempo. And they were, they were coming at us for much of the game. I mean, and furthermore, right in the second half, we set back and played far more defensively, so that they buffed their numbers a bit there. But with that said, they still only had 1.25 xG. We only had 0.51 and scored 2 goals. So that's it just goes to show you that investing in elite talent, there's an immediate reward for that right there. 19 shots for them, 10 for us. So it's not like we didn't have any action over there. They had 4 on target to our 2. They had 2 big chances to our 0, which strikes me as odd.
Yeah, I mean the Rafa goal, right?
Both. Think about Paulista's goal. He had a header right sort of point blank. So I'm not sure how they calculate that.
The reason why the big chance for Rafa's won't count is because he actually did hit it from the edge of the box. Maybe that's why. Just because it was outside of the box technically, but obviously he had no one in front of him. It was a chance. It was a very good chance.
Yeah.
A great chance to score. But I think maybe that's why it constitutes as a big chance, because it was just outside the box.
Yeah, and always, I think, look, whenever it comes to these somewhat more subjective stats, like XG, like a big, quote-unquote, big chance, it's subjective. Someone accumulated these stats based on their perspective, and who's to say what they're, if they're real strict with how they measure these things, or if they have some sort of agenda, one never quite knows. But anyhow, accurate passes, they had an 86% rate, completing 381 passes, which is quite solid. And they must have really practiced on their shitty pitch, they must have been more prepared for it. We had 251 passes completed at a 75% rate, which actually, typically we're going to have a more efficient passing than our, Anadolu rivals, opponents. But, again, it's... that's the home field advantage right there, especially when your home field is the potato pitch.
It's a potato field.
Potato pitch. Yeah, potato field. Fouls, they committed 11 fouls to our 10. Probably could have been even more lopsided. And that's kind of aberrant. You don't usually see a side who has way more of the ball and more chances committing also more fouls, So it speaks to the fact that this wasn't like a black and white, They weren't dominant by any stretch. I mean, it was physical. It was back and forth. They were offsides 3 times to our 0, which is interesting. We were disciplined. And also, their 3 offsides, Kaan was speaking to this, how we're doing something there, maybe tactically. They had 6 corners to our 2. That speaks to how much they were, on our side of the pitch. But yeah, Kartal, you want to do these like the dual stats and whatnot?
Yeah. Let's see. So they won 39% of their duels. So there was 32 they won, and which was 39% of their total duels. We done a lot better in duels. We won 50, which was 61% of ours. They won 42% of their ground duels, which was 20. So there was 27 of them they won. We won 37, which was 58% of them. Aerial duels they won 5, which was 28%, which we won 13, 72%. Successful dribbles, we had 50% of ours, which was 8 successful, and they had 25% of theirs that were successful. That was 3. So really, it looked from the stats, it looks like in terms of the sheer physicality of the game, we were dominant in terms of physicality. In terms of actual creating chances, like playing football, they were clearly better. I mean,
yeah.
It's not deniable. We said it before looking at the stats, and we can see it now after. In terms of positions for me, like my personal position counters, I'd say they had maybe 5 positions in the game, whereas we had 3, 2 goals and then the one for Jedson at the end. So I definitely think, look, they were the better team. But I think a positive takeaway you could take from these stats is it seems as if we've actually kind of bullied them in terms of the physical aspect of the game, which is always a positive to take away from it. I don't know what you guys want to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of interesting how kind of physically dominant we were statistically on the defensive end, and actually, I think it speaks to Gio's approach working, right? Like that's kind of like we said, the subs he made suggested he was gonna, try to kill the game out and put on more physical guys who could kind of win duels in the middle of the pitch. Given the inaccuracy of any kind of like risky pass, that you could try to attempt. So yeah, no, I mean it seems like it was an effective game plan that sort of panned out statistically.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it's really remarkable that the dual stats are so lopsided, and that we actually come out on top in these. Because in every other metric, like normally speaking, you would expect like a team that has 58% possession is winning most of their duels. And I did think that early on in the game, they were winning probably most of the duels or the second ball, so to speak. But like clearly we rebalanced that out. And obviously, Gio made those subs to be more physical. I think Kata pointed out really early on, it might have been you, Sinan. But yeah, it definitely paid off because as you can see in the stats here, duel-wise, we were actually quite dominant. 61% duels won. That's pretty decent. Aerial duels won. 72% of the aerial duels won. That's pretty good. Versus very low metrics for them. So that really stands out to me, given the fact that obviously the possession is so much in their favor. XG is so much in their. Well, I'm not surprised by that, but I am surprised by the fact that we still won that many duels then. Taking that into consideration.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys want to add anything about the stats?
Oh, we got a donation.
Oh.
Look at that. There's a big notification there. Wow.
The Dutch Eagle tipped €5.
Dutch Eagle tipped €5.
Thank you very
Keep
much.
up the good work,
Well,
really gives BJK a more international profile and hope more fans will start following you. Onto a Black Eagles podcast community of thousands.
I have noticed that 75% of you who watch our streams are not subscribed. So if you subscribe and hit that subscribe button right now, your name should pop up on the screen as well. And
that's just like a YouTube subscription?
Yeah, exactly. If people subscribe to our YouTube channel, their names will pop up as well. And like you just saw, like when somebody donates or gives us a tip, that will pop up on the screen as well.
And I promise to do that sound effect every time. Sorry about that. Kaan, did you have any individual stats, by the way?
No, I only really had those stats, and I was kind of hoping that you would just run down the individual stats.
Yeah, I was gonna. That's exactly why I asked. Let's talk about some individual stats very briefly, just to sort of round up that discussion, if I can find them. Where are the individual stats? Are they changed their format here, I see. All right, okay, here we go. Fight Mob rating. So yeah, it's worth noting, Arthur Masuaku had the highest rating of any players. If you want to see,
I know someone who will like that.
Yeah. What's his name? Evran over here.
Evran,
Masuaku had the highest rating.
He'll be
Rafa
excited.
Silva in second. Jedson Fernandes in third. Gabriel Paulista in fourth. And Semi Kilitsoy. And obviously that's because he had an assist that buffs your numbers a bit.
Yeah,
then Mert Gunok. So by the way, you'd think I'm just looking at like Beşiktaş's. No. Those are like, if you go further down, like the highest rated player was Mark Bola. But so yeah, like Beşiktaş's players had better games statistically, despite you'd think that not being the case. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that? What do you make of the fact that we had so many good statistical performances individually, despite what I think we would consider to be a pretty poor performance overall as a team?
Well, I think it really goes to show that Sir Alex's famous quote about statistics is quite true.
Yeah.
Or was that stats are like miniskirts, they can be revealing, but they don't give you the full picture.
Yeah. Although it's probably maybe they also in this case reveal the fact that it was an effective game plan to some extent. That like guys did what they were kind of instructed to do to some extent, and just the outlook was to play more conservatively, as especially once we had a couple goals, right? Like it kind of made sense to do that.
I think after 2-0, yeah, but like to me from the post-game comments from Gio, I don't think Gio was happy at all with the performance in terms of
of course.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he was necessarily happy either, but I do think he was realistic, and that, like I said before, I think he just analyzed the game really well. He saw us being up 2-0, and it wasn't the time or place to try and tweak the game plan in order for us to play more attractive football. It was just getting those 3 points across the finish line, and that was the single most important thing, to get those 3 points in the bag in a very difficult situation in our first game of the season. And it's good that it's an away game that we got points, because if you remember the last couple of years, guys, we really struggled in those away games.
Yeah, and like we, now both of us kind of have mentioned it, but this is one of the more rambunctious crowds we're going to see on the road. It's worth noting that we got that out of the way, and they look like a side that has enough talent that getting this result could benefit us. Like I can almost promise you that Samsunspor will get a point off of our rivals in one of their matches this season.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm gonna get bit in the ass, if this doesn't come through. Someone's gonna remember that I made this call, but I genuinely feel that Samsunspor will probably get a point off of one of our rivals. They look really good. They have a lot of talent. I mean, as you look at their roster, they have good players, and they've played together for a while now. So
I think I should actually tell my Encham story on the podcast.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell it, man.
Go for it. Yeah.
So, in 2019, I was a Christmas tent worker in Asda, which is a supermarket in the UK. And actually, Encham came to that supermarket for the shopping pretty often. And actually, one time, how the self-checkouts?
Yeah.
He was struggling to use one of them, and it was actually me that helped him out. And the funny thing is,
your brush with greatness.
Yeah, I wanted to say to him, because at that time he was a big deal for Celtic at that time. He would see they beat Lazio in the Europa League home and away, and in the away game he scored both goals.
Did you tell him come to Beşiktaş?
No, I didn't even say anything to him. I just kind of acted like I didn't know who he was. But it's see, with the time I helped him, I was like that. I looked at him, I'm like, that's Encham, but I didn't want to ask. And so actually I helped him with his shopping, but it was actually a couple of weeks after that there was that game with Lazio and Celtic, and he scored a last minute winner for Celtic in that game
against Giro, the bastard.
Yeah,
maybe it was your groceries that gave him the energy he needed, to get the result.
It was the day. See, like the day after, it was the day after that he came in again, and everyone was going on next to him and taking photos with him and stuff like that because he was like a hero the night before.
Yeah.
And then that's when I knew for sure, that definitely wasn't Cham because it was the same guy. But yeah, I think it's quite cool that a guy that I helped with his groceries is now playing in the Super League. It's quite funny.
I mean, it would have been cooler if he was playing for Real Madrid now, but
yeah, right,
yeah, for sure. I understand what you mean. And Sinan showed the picture before already, but I'm just gonna bring it.
Oh, we're shifting. All right, but so let's just really quickly to wrap up the match talk. I think, look, and this is what Gio said. Getting the 3 points on the road to start the season was the most important thing. And I think we'll all, if we can put together a good season, we'll definitely all forget how we got those 3 points, and we're going to remember just a great start to the season, the Galatasaray match, followed by a nice victory on the road against, again, a side that I think seems formidable enough.
Yeah,
certainly they'll be, I'd guess they'll be upper mid-table. While we're in, the position to maybe be predictive here before it's too late. But so, yeah, no, I think that all in all, it's a great 3 points that we're going to be pretty happy about when the season comes to an end. If granted, if it's a terrible season, then nobody will remember and it won't matter at all. But that's a knock on wood.
Yeah,
this game,
I really hope so.
I think this game, it was good that it kind of panned out the way it did. See if we played like amazing like we did against Galatasaray.
Yeah.
Like in the friendlies against Grazia and against Abinley, when we had a full team out in the friendlies. If we done that again, we would have started thinking, do we even need transfers? This team needs signings, but it was a way we went through the game. We got a 2-0 win, but it was a game where the fact that we visibly need signings was completely evident. And I think, people are saying we definitely need a left centre back. I think just let Amir Han get his spot in the team. Maybe you need another centre back for depth, but I think Amir Han, I think when he takes over Crawley, he'll kind of do good. I'm pretty sure he'll do well. But I think we definitely need a winger, man, because our wings were completely useless. I think it's important that we a lot of people are saying we need two. I think two wingers. If you offload Abu and Maleka and move Semi into the striker rotation, we need two. Because I don't think Semi's been too effective on the wing this season, although he was effective, very effective, obviously, at times last season, very, very effective. But so far this season, he's not been that effective on the wing. But I think
there's been 2 games, right? So
yeah, but there's definitely. In the friendlies, he wasn't too effective as well, I felt. But we definitely need at least one winger, for sure. We definitely need that. I think Colley obviously needs to be replaced. We need to see if Ndour's going to be able to, what kind of role he's going to fit in. We need to see him play, because we'll talk about him more later, but he's a bit of a question mark, although it definitely does seem that he is a player that's highly regarded in terms of his potential and definitely could turn into something big. We need to wait and see. We definitely need a winger. I think we need a left back. If Masuaku goes, I think we need two.
I want to make a retort real quick.
We'll talk about
Can I make one retort?
Masuaku. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing about Semi, which I think I disagree with you about, is I don't think we need two wingers, because I think if you have one guy who's good on the ball, who can create opportunities, create chances for you, maybe take care of set pieces, really well, hopefully. I think you can have Semi be a guy who can kind of come in and operate in that Laren role, as a, attacking kind of inside forward type. And I think if you have a guy like Masuaku, who is going to be sort of bombing up the left side and trying to contribute to attack, I think it could function well if you have the counter on the right side, who you can kind of, cross the ball to and hope he can create a chance with it or whatever it is. So, I really feel depending, I would much rather we heavily invest in a right winger, and actually try to accommodate Semi as a starter as best we can. That's my take.
I mean, I think in an ideal world, that's what you want. I think that's what we all want in an ideal situation. Obviously, Semi had a great assist, but inside the game, he's been quite ineffective these last 2 games. But I agree, obviously, it's just been 2 games.
Keep in mind,
imagine
though,
this: if Rashica has a great performance, you're not focusing so much on what Semi's doing, and then he opens up lanes for Semi too, right? If he's commanding an extra defender, someone on the right side, then you're going to create more opportunities for a guy like Semi to cash in with.
Yeah, and don't forget that Semi is also keeping, like, there's 2 games now, where he was man-marked like that, and that's also taking that player out of the game to an extent as well. Like, there's 2 players being taken out of the game at once, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I want to add something to what Sinan was saying. I agree with you in the fact that, I feel like an ideal kind of wing balance is you have one winger that's a creator, and then you have one that's kind of almost like a wing forward. I think that's the ideal scenario. We saw it with Quaresma and Babel. We saw it with Gazal and Larin. Obviously, Babel and Larin are different, very different. And I think if Semi will turn into a version of Babel, I think that scores more goals if he turns into that complete wing forward. Because I think, like, Semi's a good dribbler. So I think he could very much be that Babel type that can drive with the ball, cut inside and score. Do you not think so?
Yeah, but also don't forget we still have Rashica as well. So if you bring in that right winger, you also have the option to play Rashica on the left, which... Agree. Which I've said that I think that's where Rashica should play. But I think Rashica... I think as we've all said, we kind of want Semi to be in that top 11 and develop. I think Rashica should definitely be in the left wing rotation. But I'm just saying that, like, some people are saying that we should buy 2. I think at least 1, 2 could be possible. But isn't 2 overkill?
Well, one night. I mean, it just depends, man. If Semi's going to stay in the wing rotation or if he's going to go to the striker rotation, it depends. But I think in an ideal world, we develop Semi. But it's just a question: is that going to be the most effective way for us to perform this season? We need to wait and see. But I agree, definitely, Rashica, once we get a right, I think Rashica should move to the left wing rotation because I think that's when he's better. I think Rashica and Semi could both do similar jobs there. Well, Rashica could be Semi sub or vice versa. Well, I think Rashica, if you look at his time at Werder Bremen, he scored a lot of goals cutting in from the left. And we did see that at times. The rare occasions he actually played on the left last season, we saw him cut in and score goals. Cutting on that, because he is right-footed, cut in from the left, shoot with the right. Like, we saw that from him last season. And that's something that I can see him doing more. So I think they could be a good kind of rotation. Those 2 could alternate. And hopefully Jan Keresh sorts whatever his problem is out and can be the kind of backup to the right mid that we're going to sign. And that way we won't need to sign any other wingers, but we definitely need at least 1. And then you were talking about the left back earlier on. We'll get to that. So is there anything else you guys want to say about the game, or do you think we should just talk about transfers now?
No, we'll move along, but I do want to throw it to the chat actually, because I think you made a good point there, Kartal, about some people are asking for 2 wingers. What do you guys think in the comments? Do you think that Beşiktaş should bring in a left and a right winger? Is it overkill to bring in 2 wingers? Let us know what you think. And we will indeed move it along. Then that will do it for the game. 3 points in the bag. And Beşiktaş are top of the table right now after just 1 game played, of course. Of course, there's still some games going on at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see. We're also going to introduce a new segment in the coming weeks, which is called The Rest. And that'll basically be us just briefly talking about the rest of the league. So Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe, Trabzonspor, Başakşehir, Çaykur Rizespor, the whole lot. We'll look at the standings, we'll look at their results, quickly talk about it. We're not going to go in depth, of course. This is a Beşiktaş podcast, but that's a segment we are going to introduce over the coming weeks. However, right now, with 1 game played, I don't think there's too much to be said in terms of the rankings and stuff like that. We'll go over the score lines at the end of the show We'll go over the results of the league because some games are still going on at the moment, but they should be finishing in about 20 minutes. So then we will run down the results in the Super League this week. So for now, we are going to go over to the transfer news, and there's a bunch actually. There's a bunch of official stuff. So as you already saw, guys, Sinan already flashed the picture earlier, but we have Chér Ndour, who is officially coming to Beşiktaş now. He has arrived at the airport. There he is. You can see his big smile. He seems pretty... that seems like a genuine smile. Sometimes those smiles look a little awkward. Yeah. But
he also, on his Instagram, reposted a video Beşiktaş did of like a little sort of mini announcement to say someone is coming. Mm-hmm. So he seems pretty eager. He's excited to play, I guess.
Yeah, it's always good to see. What do you guys think about this transfer? Is this something we needed? It's a central midfielder, can play as a defensive midfielder, can play in a more attacking role. Do you guys think this was a necessary transfer?
I think it makes sense to get a little depth. We saw the need for it, like in this match. If you want to do that little tactical switch up that we saw at the end there, it would have been helpful if we had someone of this guy's profile to play there, even despite, right, because Onana was in and we still had, Svensson shifting into the middle of the pitch. So I think it makes sense in that sense. All right, I said the word sense a lot. Look, my only real problem is there really no option to buy this kid? So is it really just a loan?
That is not clear. There probably is, because Paris Saint-Germain have kind of fallen into this trend of loaning players with an option to buy, and then if they buy them, include a buyback clause. So that's a trend that Paris Saint-Germain have been doing with their younger players. Famously, Xavi Simons got sold to PSV for 6 million euros, had a great season, and Paris Saint-Germain bought him back the following season. So,
what I will say though, Fabrizio Romano has reported that there is no buy option included. So as he arrived, he tweeted, Chér Ndour arrived in Istanbul to join Beşiktaş from PSG, loan as planned. Then he's put in capital letters, no buy option included. So the signs point towards there being no buy option. Obviously, it probably will end up with no buy option, but we wouldn't really know for sure until.
No, but if he's reporting that, he's very tight with the agents, so he will know the details. So if he says no buyout option, there won't be any. But I was just going off of an educated guess there, because that's what Paris Saint-Germain like to do.
Ertan Suzgun had reported that previously, and so Fabrizio Romano has a tendency to glom onto other people's news. So it's plausible that maybe he saw Ertan's guess or whatever kind of insight he had, and I really hope there is an option, because I'm always weary of developing someone else's talent without the chance to secure them if they have a breakout.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the other hand, he's depth. He's definitely going to be depth regardless. So there's no. If there's really no option to buy it, it could just be kind of a break in case of emergency kind of thing. We focus more on developing our own guys. Play Demir Egetiknas, a little more than him, for example. Maybe he's like I said, really a deep cut, if you will. But let me know. For me, obviously, the massive needs that we have are on the wing and at the fullbacks positions.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the Yasin Özcan, the latest rumors, or are they not concrete enough?
I do not have those, but you can definitely mention them. But let's get through the official stuff before we start.
Yeah, we can talk more about
diving into the rumors. So, Chér Ndour, of course, guys, let us know in the comments. Did you think he was a necessary transfer? How do you feel about the move? And we'll get to some of those comments later on for sure. Then the next bit of official news, Amir Hadziametovic, our midfielder that we bought from Konyaspor. What is it? Is it 2 seasons ago now? I think it was 1.5 seasons ago, because I think we got him in... Did we get him in January? think we might have gotten him in January, but I'm not 100% sure. So Amir Hadziametovic joins Çaykur Rizespor on a season-long loan. Of course, he is coming off an ACL injury. And as I had already talked about in the VIP audio feed, which you can listen to for free on a 7-day trial and become a member of the Black Eagles VIP on patreon.com/BEŞİKTAŞ podcast. For just $1.99 a month. Great value, as Kartal already said. Great way to support the podcast. I had already mentioned it on there, but I think personally that this is a great move for Amir Hadziametovic because it'll give him the chance to regain his mojo. And as you guys may remember, I made a point like a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago perhaps, when we were still talking about Emirhan Topçu and potential players being included in the trade for him. I was talking about Tayyip Talha going to Rize on loan to regain his mojo because Rize are one of the teams in the league that play good football, attacking football, have a great coach with a great philosophy, and I really think that for our players, guys like Amir, guys like Tayyip Talha, who I think still have value, and definitely we want them to recover from their injuries, we want them to rebound properly. Playing for a team like Rizespor is ideal. Guys, what do you think about this? Kartal, let me start with you. And also in the comments, guys, let us know what you think about Amir's move to Rize.
I think, I never really got to say anything about Ndour. In terms of Ndour, I'll start with that. I think I would have rathered like a kind of all-round 8. That's what I would have rathered as a
That's what he is. That's what he is, huh?
Supposedly.
But the thing is, but he's not really, like, apparently they're not really sure about like what position he is. Like, is he a 6 or is he an 8? Is he a 10? Like, from what I've read and what I've researched, like, he's not quite found his position yet.
That's kind of what you want, right? You want an all-round 8, somebody who can do everything. That's almost what you're describing there. Yeah. Somebody who hasn't found his position yet. That usually means if somebody hasn't found his position yet, that's because they're good at flexible and good at multiple things.
Yeah, but like obviously I've said before, I wanted that kind of tall guy Arslan type. I hope this guy can turn out to be a great number 8 for us and can play in that position. And like games, we're all going to be more focused on the passing game rather than like need the energy of Jedson. He could be like an alternative for Jedson in those games. Mm-hmm. I hope that's the case. But obviously, he's seen as a great talent, but he's not quite like established himself in the pro level yet. Obviously, so far he's just shown that his potential in youth and not quite done it at A-team level yet. So it's a question mark. I've heard some good things. Hopefully he's good. As for Amir, I think it's a great move for Amir, as you were saying, Kaan, because it's a loan move and he's going to a team and he's going to be playing for a coach that he knows well from his time at Konyaspor, but also a coach that plays proper football. And I think a guy like Amir that's a kind of diagonal ball specialist and a good passer of the ball is going to thrive in that kind of team, and it's the ideal team for him to kind of re-establish himself and get his fitness back to compete. Either he's sold next summer or who knows, maybe he could be competing for a place in the squad again. So I think that's a great move from him. And Ndour is a question mark just now. It's probably going to go one or two ways. It could be really good, or he might not play much at all. Hopefully he's really good. Obviously I prefer if we had an option, but even without that option, if you get one really good year out of him, that's still one really good year, and he's done some good stuff for you. So there's always a kind of positive side to look at. Obviously I agree with Sinan, it would have been better if we did have an option, but even without one, if he plays good, it's still a positive. You've got one good year out of a young prospect, and maybe if this guy goes on to do great things, you can say, will that guy actually first showed himself at A-team level at Beşiktaş? That'd be really cool. We're hoping we'd say that about Talisca before he went to China. For those in the Premier League, I was just imagining us saying if he went to say was it Liverpool or Man U, I think he was with both. If he went to those teams and done really well, we could have been saying, that guy Beşiktaş made him. Well, this is another potential. This is potentially another chance to.
Maybe he becomes a star and he like posts after our wins about how he still supports us. Maybe you establish ties with someone who becomes big time. And regarding this comment right here by Carlito, without a buy option, it doesn't make sense. Normally I agree. We definitely don't want to become a tryout service for talents of other clubs. That said, if we are indeed trying to make serious ties with these clubs that Hassan Arat has, friendships with, vis-a-vis Chelsea, I think it was, and PSG, and I forget, there's some other ones. It could make sense to kind of get your feet wet, start these transactions off, get them comfortable transacting with us, doing deals, and then, hopefully it doesn't become a tendency where we loan without an option, and from now on we kind of, once you got your foot in the door, hopefully it makes it easier to do business with them later on.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this is also a cheap way for Beşiktaş to fill in a squad depth need, right? Like, we don't have to pay a fee.
Fill it out, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We don't, I don't know how much of the wages we'll be paying, but he probably isn't on high wages anyway because he came from Benfica B, essentially. So, yeah. Sinan, your thoughts on Amir's move to Rize?
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. I think it's a great move. What's great about them is they're a good enough side that you feel like they're going to be competitive and be playing good enough football that he's going to get good experience with them, to get his feet back underneath him. But then also he's good enough where he's going to get pretty decent amount of playing time with them. So it's like a perfect situation. Rize would be a great side for us to generally be working with, as far as like loaning players who are good, and we need, like the Tayyip Tahas and whomever else,
Yeah, fully agree with you, especially as long as Ilhan Palut is there. I think it's great to have a working partnership with a team like that. But of course, it's a little sleazy to work with a team that's in your league. So I'd prefer it to be with a team in the second division, I guess. But in the circumstances of Tayyip Tala, of Amir Hadziametovic, we of course want them to play at the highest level, and a team like Rize is ideal in that regard. Guys, let us know in the comments as well what you think about the move, please, if you haven't already. Then another thing that is official, and I'm going to let you pick in on this one first, Sinan, because I know this is one near and dear to your heart, but Francisco Javier Montero has officially been released. He is a free agent, but it looks like he might be signing for Santander in Spain. Thoughts on this departure, Sinan?
I'm sad. I'm sad to see him go. I'm obviously also, I'm a little disappointed we couldn't get money for him. Obviously in this scenario, like, I'm sure he left money on the table, which is very amicable.
But you'd imagine Aruca would have paid his wages last season. Like, his wages weren't super high.
I'm pretty sure we probably could have gotten a couple mil off him. That's obviously a shame.
Yeah.
But I think he might be in the last year of his contract too. There might be other mitigating circumstances. Ultimately, end of the day, we needed a foreign slot opened up. That means that we only have to get rid of 2 more guys officially. Oh wait, with Amir, it might only even be 1 now, so that we have a free slot opened up.
We've got 16 foreigners. I've got see on the note section on my phone.
Yeah.
I've got a list every time. Someone goes to update it, so
you take one up. Yeah, I had one going. I don't know where I put it.
So we have 16. So who's left? Abubakar is obviously still there, and Muleka.
I'm just going to read them all out. So now officially with Montero gone, and obviously Ndour's not officially signed, but I've included them because the chances of a 20-year-old, that as far as we know, has got no injury history, failing a medical, it's not going to happen. So Immobile, Rafa, Paulista, Jedson, Svensson, Masuaku, Rashika, Muleka, Nostrati, Mucci, Colley, Abubakar, Amarte, Ndour, Oxlade-Chamberlain, that is, and Ona. So that's 16.
I think that's why I thought we might already be there, because I've probably already mentally checked Amarte and Ox off of my list, right? Because and it's probably worth noting that there are some very concrete rumors now suggesting that there are now 4 Premier League teams coming in for Ox. I think it was Brentford was one of them.
Bournemouth. English teams.
Burnley.
Bournemouth. So it was
Bournemouth,
Brentford, Bournemouth, And then Sheffield has been linked, according to The Sun, and Southampton, the club where he started off his career.
Southampton, that's what I was
So,
gonna say.
I mean, we are finished with the official part, but not 100%. There is one thing I did want to mention, if you guys don't have anything to add on the Montero thing.
Montero?
Kartal,
Yeah,
maybe?
Kartal, you want to say something about Montero?
I'll say a piece about Montero. Actually, me and Sinan always backed the guy, man. I always supported him. I thought.
What about me, man? I did too. What is this?
Kaan as well. Kaan
The
always
shade being thrown over here.
But I always thought the kid he had great feet, man. Like he's a great passer of the ball with his left foot. I mean, I think just the problem with him is he had like kind of a mistake in him every now and again. And I mean, I always personally felt he didn't get a fair shake of it. Like he'd play maybe 3 or 4 games, and then in the 3rd or 4th game he'd make a mistake that'd cost us a goal, and then it'd be
just
ages
take
after.
a look.
And then I felt like that kept happening. And then when Chér Ndour didn't give him a look in, he got loaned out twice. And to be honest, I was quite surprised that Gio never took him to the camp in Slovenia. I thought that Gio would actually prefer Montero over Colley, but oh well. Like, obviously, he does have those lapses of concentration that can cause mistakes. We saw that, but overall, I thought he was a good centre-back. And I think he was a bit hard done by. I still think he's better than Colley, man. I'll say that to this day.
But I don't know what's up with the Colley hate all the time, man. Like, he gets so much hate, man. I don't get it.
Maybe it's more Montero love, Kaan.
I mean,
So just
all I say is, Montero, man, you're a great character. You always, if we told you to go, you went. You played your always gave it your all. You played a phenomenal game against Dortmund, against Erling Haaland. Apart from that one goal he scored, for the rest of the game he was in your back pocket. I always thought you were actually a good player and didn't really get a fair shot of it, but it's been 4 years.
Yeah, fully agree.
We wish you the best of luck, man. Like I really don't think you get a fair shot. Loaned out twice when you were here. I felt as if played some good games. I got a text message.
Oh dear.
You played some.
Did you put that good right near the microphone or something?
I was gonna say,
that's like when I get a message.
I was like, oh, we got a super chat or something.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But I mean, the guy, yeah, he just didn't get a fair shot. I thought when he played, for the most part, he was good, and then every time he made a mistake, he'd kind of be scapegoated and be cut for ages, and then it just kept going like that, and then he was loaned out twice.
Yeah.
Best of luck, man. Wish you all the best.
I think Sergen was probably the only one who gave him a fair shake, and every other subsequent manager kind of just felt like he got written off when Sergen got booted or got fired or whatever, or left or whatever you want to say, and it did feel like he got kind of scapegoated at the time, and it's a shame. I mean, this is when Channel came back, I knew Montero isn't gonna get a chance, but at least under Valérien Ismaël, you would have hoped that he would have gotten a chance, and then especially under Gio, coming off of a really good season at Arouca as well, you hope that somebody like that is gonna get a second look, and he just never did. All right, guys, final official transfer news, and this is actually a very This is a first for the podcast. I'm going to mention the female football team, the BEŞİKTAŞ ladies. And a transfer I really wanted to mention is Vanessa Cordoba. She is the daughter of our former goalkeeper, Oscar Cordoba. She's also a goalkeeper, and she's joined the BEŞİKTAŞ ladies team. And I've been thinking about this because it's been like 2-3 weeks now, and I wanted to mention it before on the podcast, and I didn't. I kept forgetting, and I was just so angry at myself for not mentioning it, because I think it's, I'm a little bit of a football romantic. Some of you might have noticed that already, and I really think it's awesome to see the daughter of a former player play for the club now. Equally, it would be cool if the son of a player would, if Noah Hutchinson plays for Beşiktaş in 10 years or 15 years, or Ricky Quaresma. That would be awesome as well. But Vanessa Cordoba playing for the female team, I think is so cool. I wish they would broadcast those games. I really want to watch them. I want to support the girls too. But unfortunately, those matches aren't regularly being broadcast yet. Maybe that is something that the Beşiktaş YouTube the premium membership of the Beşiktaş YouTube channel, perhaps. Maybe Beşiktaş, that might be an idea of doing that. Maybe also just a plug for Beşiktaş. Guys, you probably know this already, but if you don't, Beşiktaş have opened up membership on YouTube. So you can become a member for 15 lira. That's the base tier. And then for 50 lira, which is the second tier, which gives you full access essentially. That's for those in Turkey, so it's pretty cheap in Turkey. In Europe, it's actually $4.99 for the base tier, and then for the second tier, it's $8.99. So it's pretty expensive, but they have been putting out content regularly. They put out a really nice 26-minute video on the Super Cup, which is definitely worth the price of admittance. So I definitely recommend you go and give that a try as well. For sure, after you sign up for the Black Eagle VIP podcast on patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast. So that covers it for the official amount of news, guys. Then the only thing we really have left to talk about is rumors and is team news. So a very important bit of news that came out today actually is about Gabriel Paulista. The medical checks on his ankle have come back positively. No serious damage has been done to his ankle, so he should be back in playing condition really soon. Just a sprained ankle, I suppose. So he will probably.
I would say. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I would say let's maybe. They say he'll be ready for Antalya.
Yeah. I mean,
I would exercise some restraint and maybe just hold him off till, because we have. For anyone who doesn't know, we're playing on Thursday as well. We're playing Partizan or Lugano.
Partizan, yes.
And it's still 0-0, right? There's no change.
No, Partizan lost the first game at home. Lugano won. But this is all news I still have in the bag, Sinan. But you're already jumping.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually didn't know that. I thought it ended 0-0.
No, it ended 0-1. So Lugano won. So, yeah. Beşiktaş will have to play most likely Lugano, but of course we have to await the return leg on Thursday. So we can't, make any conclusions just yet. But it looks at the moment like it's gonna be Lugano on the 22nd. But then of course before that we have Antalya at home at 8:45 again Turkish time. I think 8:45 Turkish time, or is it? It's actually 9:45 Turkish time. I think at 8:45 Central European time. So it's a really late kickoff again. But we'll talk about the schedule a little bit later. Guys, before I do move on to the rest of the rumors or news, did any of you want to mention anything about Vanessa Córdoba? Because I kind of just bulldozed through. No. Okay.
I fully agree with you. I think it's great as probably an equally football romantic. Now, maybe my wife would say I could be more romantic on the other end. Without going too far into that, I definitely think it's fantastic that Vanessa Córdoba has joined the club. And yeah, I mean, you love to make these kinds of ties with, familial ties with sort of club legends and the like. So no, I think it's exactly right. And she's actually supposed to be a pretty good keeper too, so it's not like she doesn't deserve a spot. From what I'm aware, again, I can't say I'm an expert. I also wish that we could watch these guys. Also, supposedly Beşiktaş is gonna be bringing Nika Mule, who's a women's basketball player, who I wish I could watch also. Yeah, I hope that our YouTube channel steps it up and starts airing these things because, we're doing interesting things. And now that Hassan Arat's really buffing the basketball side of things too, there would theoretically be a lot to watch.
It's not just the basketball team. I really have the feeling that they are spending the necessary attention to almost all the top branches. Something that, of course, has been neglected in recent years, in favor of the football branch. But, I think there's no excuse for that because the finances are separate. So ignoring the other branches that just shows you that the board isn't doing their job properly. So it's good to see that Hassan Arad's board are doing a good job when it comes to the other branches as well. And hopefully, we can enjoy. Well, for those of you who enjoy other sports, you can support Beşiktaş in those as well. Another bit of news I had, but this has already partially been debunked. But Mehmet Demirkol had mentioned that according to some reliable sources that he has spoken to, Ernest Mucci might be on the way out. And we spoke about this earlier, of course.
That was my conspiracy theory, that's why he wasn't playing.
Exactly. Kartalist Haber, who, I don't know whether you think they're reliable or not, but they mentioned, like Kartal said, that that's not necessarily reflecting the truth and that sufficient offers haven't been coming in or whatever. So take it with a pinch of salt, but yeah, there are definitely rumblings right now that Mucci might be on his way out. We already spoke about this earlier. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to it. If you in the chat want to add anything to it, feel free to comment as well. Then another piece of news that, Jackson Muleka has been linked to Al Khalouf for the last week or two, or Al Khalout, I should say.
Yeah.
Reportedly a 750k loan fee with a 3.25 million option to buy and a 250k euro penalty should they not trigger the option was looked like it was on the table or agreed on. However, latest reports seem to indicate that there are some financial troubles in Saudi Arabia and that they aren't able to get the government, I guess, to sign off, or the league to sign off on the transfer. Now, it is worth mentioning that the Saudi Pro League are essentially bankrolled by the Saudi government, but mainly it's the big, I want to say 4 clubs. It's Ittihad, Nasser, and Hilal, and then I think there's another club that I'm forgetting. But the other clubs in the league aren't necessarily being sponsored as vividly. And also you may have noticed that, the Saudi Pro League haven't really been turning much heads this summer. Apparently, I've been speaking to some people who are very cued in on Saudi football because they report on it. And it does look like there's been some saving going on, like they are taking their foot off the gas pedal rather. So I don't think that the Saudi Pro League is necessarily going to offer us the exit route for some of these players that we were hoping for. And somebody else who we've been talking about, of course, over the recent weeks is Daniel Amarte, who supposedly has some offers on the table from the Saudi Pro League, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same problem there. We got another donation, by the way, by Finnish Kebab.
Big kebab.
Thank you very much, Finnish Kebab, for the €1.90. Much appreciated. Guys, if you want to donate, by the way, that is also in the show notes. You can find that link where you can do so if you want to give us a little tip for the show or anything like that. But if I were you, I would just subscribe to the Patreon page and you actually get something in exchange for your $1.99. Amarte, that's something that's being mentioned as well. Of course, he has Saudi clubs interested in him, but it feels like we've been hearing that the entire summer, right, guys?
Yeah. I mean, if there was an offer a month ago and it didn't go, why would they now? You know, I mean, what's changed?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
He's just quite happy to sit on his ass and get his 1.8 million guaranteed a year. So unfortunately, I don't think he'll go. Ox that you were talking about earlier, on the other hand, it seems like he wants to go back to England himself as well as us giving him surplus to requirements. He will go, and that's good. I mean, I think we all quite like Ox as a player, but for the 3 million or 2.5 million salary guaranteed, but he gets like 500,000 a year bonus as well, so it's really 3 million. For 3 million a year. Having a player that is probably going to miss 3 or 4 months of the season, and on his day is phenomenal. It can be unplayable at times, but it's also quite inconsistent as well. It's just too much money for that type of player, and as much as a good character, a very talented football player, it's definitely good that he's going. So it's good that he's on the way out, but I think Amartey's going to be a thorn in our side, and I think he'll refuse. He's refused already, so I don't see what's changed between last month and now. I think he's quite happy to sit on and collect that paycheck.
Yeah, I almost feel as if the reporters in Turkey think we're stupid or something, and that we have the memory of a goldfish, and they just regurgitate the same stuff over and over. So when it comes to Amartey, we'll have to wait and see, guys. Hopefully some of the rumors are true and he is on the verge of leaving, but yeah, we can't unfortunately we can't really bank on that.
Speculate.
Yeah. So we already...
Yeah, and there's no point speculating because it's been a long summer of that.
And like we already mentioned before, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain does have several clubs interested in him. But at the moment, of course, it's just waiting until one of those clubs pulls the triggers. And apparently we are negotiating with him to tear up his contract. So... Kartal, I think you privately mentioned that he probably wants a little bit of money left on the, us to pay him a little bit. Yeah, I do think that right now, like you mentioned, he's on 2.5 million a year. He had a 1.5 million euro signing bonus, I think, or 1 million euro signing bonus. I don't remember exactly.
So it's spread over the 3 years. So really, he's getting 3 million.
Okay.
So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure about that. I actually spoke about that on the VIP audio as well, that, he had that 1.5 million signing bonus, but depending on whether it's spread over 3 years or not, it depends, because if you already had it, so then he's essentially on 3 million a year.
Exactly.
3 million a year is a pretty high wage, especially for a championship side. So let's say Southampton, I believe they're still in the championship. Sheffield, they just went down, I think. So, those teams, for them, 3 million a year, that's not easy. So, perhaps us giving him 2 million to go, and then, him leaving, essentially, then you're essentially saving 4 million, because it's 6 million over 2 years. So if you give him 2 million, then, and he goes and signs for 2 million somewhere or something, that's a possibility.
The reason,
that's probably...
Yeah, the reason why I speculate that is because it has taken a while to because they've been saying for about, it was kind of deemed kadro, which, for those who don't speak Turkish, is basically you're out the squad for 10th of July. So it seems like they've been negotiating this for over a month now. So the reason why I think it's maybe taking so long is that he's wanting some money, at least some of that salary that he's owed before he goes. So that I think that seems to be the case. Obviously, we don't know really what's going on. That's just speculating based off of what's happened. But as you said, you think that there's a good chance that's probably true as well. But as you also mentioned, Kaan, I mean, even if he leaves some of the money on the table, it's a W. You know what I mean? Because the guy is technically entitled to all of it.
Of course. But how would you feel how do you feel about it though, Kartal? Would you rather him off the books completely?
Yeah.
Or would you take the gamble, loan him for a year, have them cover the majority of his wages, and speculate on him having a good year and perhaps getting a transfer fee next summer?
Ooh, that's hard, man, because I mean, I think that could be a good approach if you're going to ask why. I mean, there's a chance he'll probably get injured. Because
there's that chance.
There's a very good chance, because
that's the risk. That's the major risk.
It seemed like it was going so well for us. All right, it was a bit inconsistent, but it was unplayable in some games for us, like in the first half of the season. And then he hadn't got injured at all, and then suddenly tore his hamstring. He was out for 3 months. But a risk, because I know if he stays fit, he'll play a fair amount of games very well, and at times he can be unplayable, as we've seen for us. So I think that is because also he counted as like an English player as well, and they need a certain amount of like homegrown talent in their squad. So I think Southampton are actually in the Premier League. I checked it, so he could go there, and we could potentially sell him next summer. And also the good thing about that is even if it doesn't work out, he's only got 1 year left. But so I think maybe that could be a good approach. But also, if they just tear his contract up as well, I wouldn't be bothered, because I think there's a good chance we don't get a transfer fee for him. But I think that it's always worth taking that chance, because if worse goes to worse, the guys will only have 1 year left if he comes back unsuccessful next summer.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree with you. Part of me, I mean, if he didn't have that hamstring injury, I think we would be laughing right now, because we'd probably be cashing in on him. It's the same thing with Amir.
Yeah.
I think if Amir didn't get injured, we probably would have gotten 6-7 million this window for him.
Yeah.
I think for Ox, you might have gotten 3.5 to 5 million, because if he would have had a good season without an injury, I think that's the main thing for him. Was the reason he came to us was because English clubs were scared that, because of his injury history. And I think if he would have just had that one season without injuries, that would have probably encouraged enough English teams to take a gamble on him,
I mean, I think all of us were unanimously against that signing last summer. I think any of us wanted Ox because of his injury history. But at the same time, I remember very vividly that me and you can actually had a chat in our group chat. We were trying to look, because he was already signed at that point, we were trying to look at it in a positive way.
Yeah.
Me and you actually were saying, but if he has a good year, we could probably sell him for a fair amount back to, say, Southampton.
Yeah. Then the last bit of news I got, guys, is Feas Uçer spoke after the game yesterday. He said there are offers coming in for Arthur Masuaku and other players. Masuaku is a quality player. We are aware that there are good players in our squad, and it's the coach's decision. The coach's decision is very important. He wants to create good competition within the team. There are offers for many of our players. We can say this clearly. And the sense I'm getting from that is there's offers for many players, but not the players we want offers for. There's offers for players that we probably want to keep. Arthur Masuaku, there's some rumors now that AEK Athens are very keen on him. But honestly, I think you don't sell him. I think you're dumb if you sell him. He's on a relatively low wage. He makes 1.3 million a year. He's on his last year of contract, so he would be walking for free in the summer. But right now, I think also what Feas said there, that the trainer wants competition in the team. And I think that kind of indicates that we're not very keen on selling Arthur Masuaku, because if we sell him, even if we do have a really good left back lined up, then you still don't have proper competition in that position, because then you go from Masuaku or a player at Masuaku's level to Emre Can Terzi. That's a big drop off. Yeah. So I think that competition remark he made indicates that we probably aren't looking to sell Masuaku. Let us know in the comments whether you think we should sell Arthur Masuaku. Guys, what do you think about it? Sinan, let me start with you, because you've been quiet for a while. You're muted, Sinan.
Sorry about that. I support keeping Masuaku, and I think it's. I tie it to the fact that I want Semi playing on the left wing. I think we need a really talented right wing who can create, to kind of open up lanes for Semi, and I think then having a guy like Masuaku, I think also Masuaku and Svensson complement each other really well. Because like I said earlier, Masuaku can go forward, Svensson can sort of shift back. We're pretty solid defensively. I think Masuaku, or a player of his profile, if we do need to replace him, someone who can kind of, get forward and connect the defense in the midfield and, make the occasional run and facilitate Semi, hopefully, being more involved in the attack, all of that stuff. For those reasons, I'd say keep Masuaku and bring in, like, for example, Yasin Özcan, or someone who can really maybe knock on the door as far as like threatening to take the role legitimately, not just because Masuaku's injured, but also someone who's good enough, obviously, so that when Masuaku does get injured, you can rely on them as a starter.
Kartal, what about you?
I mean, I think it is a wee bit tempting to cash in on him, but I think we need a left back regardless, someone on a similar level. So I think for this, in terms of the squad, it's best to keep him and sign another left back that's better or similar quality. And that way, like, if we have both, that way we know that we'll definitely be safe in the left back position, because obviously Masuaku's a great player, we all know that, but he always has his fitness concerns. So if he can stay, even if he does get hurt, if there's a player that's a similar level, and then he can play more, or if we sign someone better, like how good is it if your left back suspended and you know say it's okay, I've got Masuaku, and then if he's only really playing those games where he's like taking over from the other left back, like the kind of odd game here and there, like maybe like every 2 or 3 games, let's say every 3 games, that way you're going to get the best out of Masuaku as well. Because I feel like if he's not playing as much, you're going to see a better Masuaku, a fitter Masuaku, a Masuaku that can run more. So I think it's a win-win if he stays and we can get someone just as good, if not better.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Jason in the chat makes a good point as well. Masuaku won't generate the cash needed to replace him. And yeah, I think that's true as well. Like, let's say you get 2 million, 2.5 million from Masuaku now. Like, is that worth it? I don't think so. Like, if you want to get a player of Masuaku's caliber, like, I mean, essentially, if you sell Masuaku, you need to sign a starting left back, and I think you need to sign someone
and the backup.
Yeah, exactly. Because Emre Can also injured right now, by the way, and he's been injured a few times already. Like, he seems pretty injury prone as well. And otherwise, we're going to have to rely on Sinan's favorite left back.
Actually, I want to go on the record. I don't think Poyraz could end up being good. It's just he's so young, right? Like, you can't rely on him.
I mean, honestly, he's not someone that's ever stood out to me when I watched the under 19. So I didn't even notice him in the past, so I don't know if he's any good, honestly.
And the under-19s are another Beşiktaş wing that should totally be on.
Yeah,
they
are actually. They do show those matches from time to time, but obviously not all the time. The home games are frequently shown, but I think the away games, I don't remember if they get shown actually. All right, that's it for all the news I think I've got. Guys, if you have any news items that I forgot about or didn't note down, please let me know. Otherwise, we're going to start digging into some comments because we got a couple of really good questions.
I was going to say, yeah. All right, let me go up. Where did we leave off last? Masu got booked. Yeah, that's where we left off, right? So Nejik, double mistake. Jason said Thomas Reis is perfect for a mid-table team with his aggressive man-to-man pressing and underdog football, so he fits Samsun well. So we have a race expert apparently. Sally picks. I said I would be here. Welcome back, sir. Atil John, absolutely sublime from Semi, obviously regarding the assist. And yes, we all agree. Carlito, the second goal was nicely set up and the cross was perfect. Yeah, shout to Masuaku for that cross. That was a stellar cross, and just like we said earlier, just great setup from like tactically, right? Clearly they prepared for that outcome. Emre Hasturk, nice, welcome to the chat, friend. He says, who will score more, Rafa or Ciro? Will Ciro pass 25 goals? What do you guys think? So that suggests to me that Emre thinks that Ciro will score more than Rafa. I agree with him. Will he pass 25? Oof. I'd say he'll knock on 20. 25, that's a stellar season. What do you think, Kaan? I think you've already promised to do some unseemly things.
No, I did not. I did not promise that. He came up with that idea, and I've just not gone in against it. But what I think, well, I think I mentioned this before. I think the amount of goals that Ciro is gonna make is going to depend to an extent to the amount of penalties we're gonna get. And
in the right winger, that right winger could create like 10 goals
I think
for him.
One of the biggest negative takeaways from yesterday's game is that we didn't get Ciro in a single shooting position.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a striker of the caliber of Ciro Immobile, You really need
He had
to...
that one deflected shot, remember, from just outside the box.
Yes,
but yeah,
that's
your point
true.
stands.
But that's not getting him in a proper shooting position, right? Like
I agree.
And I think if you have a player of that caliber with that lethality, that type of a elite finisher in Europe, and that's what he is. I'm not exaggerating. He is an elite finisher. If you have that type of a player, you need to be able to get him into positions to score. Now, I'm sure in other games he will have his chances. But even against Galatasaray, he had the one chance. He scored it. I don't think he got into any other
He did. Remember the one he made?
Oh yeah, the volley. Yeah, you're right, the volley.
There's the big one.
But other than the volley, I don't think I don't think we managed to get him into a proper shooting position.
No, we didn't.
So
Alone.
And yeah, we didn't, right? In the friendlies, we managed to get him into a couple of really good shooting positions, so that's promising. So hopefully that will translate into the league soon enough. Hopefully on Sunday.
So you sound skeptical, Kaan. No 25, you say?
Well, again, look, if we get 8, 9, 10 penalties, and he's on the pitch when we get them, he's probably, if we get 10 penalties, I expect him to score at least 8 of them. So I definitely think he'll score something like that. I think we will get at least 10 penalties this season. 36 matches. We're playing offensive football. Not yesterday, but overall, I think we're going to play pretty offensive, good attacking football. Mm-hmm. Rafa is hard to contain. Ciro is very good at winning penalties as well. So I definitely think we'll get a fair amount of penalties this season. So I think Ciro will score between 20 and 25 goals. Probably more than Rafa, but I expect Rafa to be up around 15 goals and 10 to 15 assists probably. So I definitely think Ciro will score more, but I definitely but for me, I think, and for everyone, probably Rafa will be the man of the season most likely, at least how things are looking early right now. We also need to keep in mind 25 goals, what does that mean? Is that 25 goals in the league, or is that 25 goals overall? Because if he's going to play a lot of cup games, Europe, then I think he will easily get to 20-25 goals. But if he'll need to have a really good season to get to 25 in the league, and we'll need to have a fair amount of penalties as well, I think. Kartal, what do you think?
What do you think, Kartal? 25 or no?
I think it just depends, man. I think if he scores between 20 and 25, he'll be a huge success. As Kaan says, I think the amount of penalties we get will be important.
And a right wing, right?
And obviously the right wing, yeah. I mean, I think the right wing's essential for us. I think we've seen that in the last game. Our wings didn't really operate much at all. So the right wing's essential. If we get a good right winger and we get a fair amount of penalties, I think 25 is very realistic.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let me get back to the comments. So we had Mario Yo-Yo. What's up, boys? Really lackluster welcome for Chér. I think that's probably in part to the fact that he's alone without an option, if that's the case. I hope that's not the case.
I think he was meaning more I assume he was referring to the reception at the airport, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, and they brought him to the other airport, to Sabiha,
Yeah, I mean,
it seems like it's like a toned down affair.
He's not a star signing, right? Like he's not.
But I will disagree. And with this next comment, Jason said Chér is a kid with not much pedigree. I mean, his background is like Benfica and PSG. That's a pretty solid pedigree.
Yeah, but Benfica B though, right? Like it's not Benfica. He only made like one sub appearance, I think, for the A team. So I agree.
Yeah, but as far as pedigree, right? Pedigree means like the quality of like the academy you came from and stuff.
Yeah,
Benfica's produced a lot of great talent.
That's a good too. But I also think it's a very curious career choice on his part and a questionable one. And honestly, I think if you're coming through the ranks at Benfica and like unless you have the sense of, okay, I'm not going to get a proper run in the first team, like I really question the decision to move to Paris Saint-Germain, who are just going to loan you out. Like I don't know what the idea behind that is. Like I really think that good young players should think twice before they move to clubs like Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester City and the likes, because you're better off playing for a smaller team and getting those crucial first team minutes between the ages of 18 and 21. Look look at Chér Ndour now. Like, he's 20 and he's got like, I don't know, two hands full of senior appearances. Not counting Benfica B, of course, but that's like the third tier in Portugal.
Yeah,
I think.
it's not. Yeah. But so I asked if it was a loan with an option, no option, etc., etc., etc. We'll avoid some of this. Okay, Amir Hadziametovic says 1 winger is enough. So this was Kaan. You raised the question to the group. Is 1 winger enough? Do we need 2? Amir says 1 winger is enough, especially since Sammy would play on the wing, and he said himself that he's more comfortable there as well. Carlito says not a must at the moment.
In there, sorry, Sinan. Sammy's never actually said himself that he prefers playing on the wing. Every interview, the last one being in the summer, he said that he's a striker. That was Sardar Topraktepe said on a post-match interview that I asked him if he wanted to move to striker. He said, no, I'm fine on the wing. So Semi didn't actually say that. I just thought I'd say that because I thought I'd double check.
Not on the records, yeah. We didn't see him say it, but he, according to Serdar, he said it too.
And in interviews, he's always said that he prefers playing striker, and I've just looked through Twitter there and searched up, and I've just saw a couple of examples of him saying that. The last one being in the summer, so I just thought I'd add that in. That he does say himself in the interviews that he prefers playing striker, because I just wanted to clear that up. Because it's technically not accurate.
So there's some contention on that claim. We'll see. But so Carlito says not a must, meaning to get 2 at the moment. So fill in other spots first, but for optionally reasons, good to have 2 wingers. Optionally. I guess it means like optionality or something for depth, right? To have 2 wingers in the squad, also with a long season and injuries in mind. So yeah, and I think, don't forget I think Rashica could be like the best 12th man in the league off the bench, right? And he would be, moved back, and then you have, John Kelesh. Mustafa Hekimoğlu can play on the wing too. So we have some options. Anyway, Umer Gunal, I said it before in the group. What's the point of taking a 20-year-old who's either bad and won't be of any use, or is going to turn out to be really good, and we lose him after the season? Lose. He says he can't. I'll read Umer's next comment because it's in the same train of thought. He says we can't be arsed with another Talisca situation of Ndour's name being used every summer to hype up fans and be clickbait material. So that won't be fun.
Let's hope that's not necessary under that won't be necessary under Hassan Arat for old names to be regurgitated over and over and over to excite the people. Because I think, like, for example, now we've got Rafa. I hope people are slowly starting to forget a little bit about Talisca and
Yeah, I've forgotten about Talisca for a few years, or I've scoffed at the stupid rumors linking us to him. See, Jason, not a fan of loaning in some young player who has almost no experience in a senior men's football team. I think he meant, look, but we've always talked about how you got to kind of buy low, right? You got to do this kind of low risk, high reward type of guys, and no option where a guy could.
Exactly. No option doesn't mean there won't be a possibility to buy him down the road. Like, let's say he has a good season, but not exceptional. But we see, this kid's 20. He was good. He can grow. He was useful. We'll pay 5 million or 6 million for him. That's always a possibility.
There is some rumours that, although there's no, this is just a rumour, obviously at this point. Like Murat Özcan said it. There's no official option to buy, but we do have basically first bids on him. So basically, if they're going to,
there you go.
But that is just a rumour at this point. If basically another team comes in, they'll say, look, this team offered us this much. Are you going to offer? Are you going to match that offer? So basically, we get first dibs on him. So that could be good. I think I've said, look, that I'm not 100% sure about this transfer, but this is a guy that is being compared to Paul Pogba.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So if this guy, if he gets anything close to what Pogba was at his prime, then you've got a great player. It's just a matter of whether he's going to take that leap at Beşiktaş. Hopefully he does. It'd be amazing.
Or hopefully he takes like a step forward, but not enough steps that he becomes like out of our price range. And then again, maybe we have some super famous player that is always like, has a soft spot for Beşiktaş.
And
there's lots of angles.
Another potential option is that because this is what happened with Xavi Simons, if I remember correctly, what Paris Saint-Germain tend to do as well is entice teams who loan their players. They entice them in a sense of playing them by giving them a percentage on the next sale. So that's also a possibility. That you get like a small percentage, maybe 10% or something. Yeah. I'm just speculating right now, but that's how Paris Saint-Germain, to my knowledge, like to make their deals. They'll, for example, if you buy a player off of them, they like to include a buyback clause. They like to, for example, Xavi Simons had a buyback clause. They bought him back, but then PSV had like a clause as well that if Paris Saint-Germain sold him, they'd get a certain percentage of the sale. So there's always a possibility that something like that's in the works as well. So we'll have to wait and see, right?
Yeah, we need more details on it, and also we got to see how it all pans out. Maybe he sucks and it's like a complete non-issue, and he barely played. Moving on, doing this from time to time is fine, but this should not become a regular solution for transfer issues. I regard BJK higher than this. It makes sense financially to think like this, but I'm not a fan of a mid-tier club. Yeah, I mean, like I said, hopefully this is us like getting in the door, solidifying these sort of supposed relations with PSG and these clubs that were theoretically kind of linked to via Hassan Arat. And, we get better deals going forward. Whatever it is, I think we're all in agreement. As far as us being a mid-tier club, obviously we're not a mid-tier club in regards to Turkish football.
In Europe we are.
But in Europe, we sort of are, right? Yeah, that's what it's saying.
Yeah.
Anyway. Umer Gunal, Rize is about to draw against Başakşehir, which is good for us. I joked, stop the count, because we are indeed, by the way, in first place right now on goal differential. Emre Hasturk, football romantics. That's Babak Khan and I. What do you guys think of Babel's kid playing for us in the future? He trains with a Beşiktaş kit, and Babel rates him highly, apparently. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. That's exactly the kind of thing we were kind of talking about. Those are the...
Is his dad, of course.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Babel was brilliant for us, man.
Yeah, it was good.
The way he was a snake after it and went to film and then went to Galatasaray from there and started acting like a prick. I mean, I think he is a prick, to be honest, but
he's like weird real estate rambling.
He has questionable ethics for sure. He's a character. He's a special. He's not. He's unique. I'll put it that way. I don't think he's like your average Joe, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't know. He has some.
No, he's eccentric. Yeah, exactly.
He was a very good player for us, but in the 2 years he played for us. So if he's anything like his dad, then it'd be brilliant.
You need to keep in mind as well, Babel was one of those really young players that came to the forefront of European football at a really young age, and I think that does something to a person. He has a very clear, unrealistic view of how the world really works. Sinan, you referred to those real estate schemes. There was a while where he was almost like he was trying to be like some sort of online influencer of, hey, this
like
is how
guru.
This is how you get rich or something. But if you're earning a couple of mil playing football, sure. But for the average Joe on the street, that kite isn't flying, my man. So I don't think he's really in touch with how regular people have to live their lives. If that makes sense. But that doesn't make him a bad person.
No, he's just an eccentric fellow.
He was being a bit of an arsehole when he went to Galatasaray.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, they paid him a buttload of money, though.
Yeah, that's what they do.
To be disrespectful to the team that revitalised your career, which we done. We revitalised your career.
I think they paid him $3.5 million a year, man. We were paying him like $2 million. So and he he had 2 great years with us. But he was kind of like, he was getting into his mid-30s, like 32, 33. And we saw at Galatasaray, his first season was okay. But then, it really felt like he he ran out of gas,
Yeah.
So
No,
I think he made the right decision for him and his family. He cashed in when he needed to.
He's a foreign player. Him going to Galatasaray, look, okay, I didn't love it, but it's okay. But he was very disrespectful when he went. That's what I had a problem with. He was taking the piss out of the 8-0 stuff. He was just mocking Beşiktaş.
Yeah, but I think that's just you need to not be like honestly,
you can't take this in person.
People need to stop being. You need to stop being. You need to stop being a 15-year-old child and care about an 8-0, man. Like, that shit does not matter. It's the same thing as with the Valentin Rosier when he wore his 8-0 jacket. Get the hell over it, guys. You're grown-ass men. You shouldn't care about this kind of stuff. This shouldn't get to you.
So that was like an 8-ball, right? It was like that was weird.
Like the Rosier stuff, that wasn't intentional, but he was deliberately mocking Beşiktaş. Like, there's a way to carry yourself, especially.
But why do you care?
Babel did.
That's him. Yeah. That's him showing how small
he's trying to endear himself to his new fans.
Yeah, that's just him showing the flaws in his character. You shouldn't get angry about it. You should actually. Not like you should feel sorry.
Be glad you're done with it.
You shouldn't feel sorry for him or anything like that, but you should just roll your eyes at that kind of stuff. You shouldn't get offended by it. It's ridiculous.
I mean, especially because he's like a foreigner, so I think it means probably very little to him ultimately. But anyway, keep going with the comments here. Talishka coded transfer. That's obviously about Chér. Loki Rob, welcome. Hello, do you guys talk about Ndour? We did indeed talk about Ndour quite a bit. And I think, we're all sort of on the fence about him if you want to know the general prognosis. But yeah, you can, when we're done, you can rewatch that section. We talked about him right after the, I think right at the beginning of the transfer section, after we talked about the match. So
and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are new to our streams.
And I think you'll like us, Loki Rob, because your next comment, every transfer time, I'm sick of hearing Talishka's name. We have better. We are all fully in agreement. We've been saying it for a long time. Especially like nowadays with Rafa Silva and Mucci, there's no need for any of that. Atil Jan Malak, good shout, Kartal. Yeah, Uzan said, Murat Uzan said we have priority, but odds are if it turns out well, he'll be plus 20 million, I'm guessing. I mean, hopefully he doesn't show out quite that much to begin, with us. Because, then he'd price himself right out of our range. Jason, out of topic, but people abroad are hyping up the fact that Mourinho got a yellow card in his first league game. It's so annoying. Yeah, I mean, if anything, it just shows what's likely going to be a problem for Fener. They are going to be a very frustrating mess that this poor guy... I mean, I don't know how poor. He's quite wealthy, actually. But yeah, this guy's going to have a lot to deal with over there. All right, and that's just a sign of it. Anyone have anything to say about that? Mourinho being praised for getting a yellow card?
Praised for getting a yellow card. I mean, I don't know. Did you see the comments already? Like he already lashed out to Okan or about Okan rather. He said, "Well, this guy gets to actually enter the field, not get carded, and I get yellow carded." And I was nowhere close to getting on the field or something like that.
I think it's interesting when Fenerbahce and Galatasaray play. I feel like, I mean, I don't want to say it too early, but it seems like maybe he's got a bit more respect for us, considering because we were kind of negotiating with him as well. Because he referred to the three big teams, but he only said anything bad about like Galatasaray and Okan. But I suppose there was nothing shady about our game, and there was about Galatasaray game. So I suppose.
But do you think that's because he respects us, or do you think that's because right now in his head the big enemy is Galatasaray, the big opponent is Galatasaray? That's the team to beat.
Or maybe he doesn't want to poke a bear. He saw how good we were against Galatasaray. Like,
he did refer to the three big clubs though. Yeah. Talked about Beşiktaş, and obviously, so that shows that he sees us on a level pegging to them in my eyes. I mean, I suppose there was no shenanigans in our game, which, let's be honest with us, we don't really do shenanigans. That's a Galatasaray Rossi thing, so that's probably the main reason.
Sometimes you have calls that go your way, right? Like,
it's rare though.
Happens all the time, especially bigger teams are gonna get that more often. That's just the way it is. But in Turkey,
we are not.
We'll talk. In our final segment, once we're done with these comments. I don't know if there's any left, Sinan?
Yeah, a couple more.
Yeah, go.
It's like Babel stuff. Babel is a try-hard poser in everything non-football. Yeah, that's sort of what we were saying. Umar Gunau F. Babel, he can take his kid to another academy. He had no respect for us before, and he had no respect for us after he played. In regards to our saying, don't worry about it so much, he said, I care because he was being a shithouse towards the club while getting paid by the club. He should be a professional and show respect, not take the piss. Finish kebab. Everything went to shit when Babel decided to dye Japan's flag on his head. And then Grey Wolf, finally. I'm glad we didn't spend 20 million on Maureen. Probably.
Yeah, me too.
Probably wise.
Me too.
We'll have to wait and see on that one. The jury's still out, right?
Yeah, that's true.
We can't jump to conclusions right now.
But so yeah, let's wrap this thing up. What's our final segment, Kaan?
So our final segment is going to be, like I said earlier already, the rest. This is going to be about the rest of the Super League. We're going to talk briefly about their matches. Obviously, that depends on which games we saw. So I don't know which one you saw, Sinan, or which one you've seen, Kartal. I've only watched the games from the Big Four this weekend. So that's what we're going to talk about briefly now. We're going to talk about the results. So on Friday...
Time out, Kaan. Is this like a little preview of Patreon content? Or is this going to be like a separate little segment for Patreon users eventually?
No, this is just going to be... Well, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought that's what we had said. Okay. No, it's fine.
No, this is just going to be a part of the podcast going forward where we just talk a little bit about the rest of the league. This isn't for the Patreon. I just thought this was a good segment to add to our live shows because that might interest people as well, the rest of the league. So on Friday, the champions Galatasaray opened against Hatayspor and won 2-1, but it was a very difficult labor for them. It was actually Hatayspor who took the lead in the 52nd minute through Jolson Fernandez, and it took a penalty in the 80th minute by Mauro Icardi to level it, and then in the 90th minute Michy Batshuayi headed in at the far post. Not without controversy this game, guys. I don't know if you saw it or if you saw the goals, at least the penalty and the Batshuayi goal.
I watched the Galatasaray match,
Yeah, so the penalty was... that was a very, very soft penalty. I think that's a penalty that if that happens on the other end of the pitch, I don't think that referee blows his whistle. That's a typical home team advantage penalty to me, especially home team advantage Fenerbahce Galatasaray penalty. I don't think we get that penalty. If you remember, the exact same position almost happened in our game against Adana Demirspor last season with Rebic in the box, where he got clipped from behind, goes down because he feels the contact, and refs just ignored that.
Yeah.
I think the way that Barish Alper kind of sold it, for me personally, if I was a ref... Sorry?
It was Icardi.
Oh, Icardi? They're both doing this hair business.
Yeah, they're ridiculous hair.
I thought the way he sold it would have made it less likely for the ref to call it because he was so like, whoa, kind of like a few seconds too late. But I guess the ref fell for it. I didn't know.
Fell for it. I don't believe in that anymore at this point. Kartal, what did you think of that penalty position?
I don't think we can complain too much, man. Like, there's contact. I mean, is it soft? Yeah.
He doesn't trip him or anything, man. It's a contact sport. He touches him from behind. He doesn't trip him. He doesn't do anything like that. So there's contact. It's a contact sport.
For me,
that's not the.
It's a soft penalty, but I don't think it's a scandal. So I don't think it's worth moaning about, to be honest.
I can sort of.
What I think was. All three, I didn't actually see their second goal, to be honest, but all three of the panel one being trio said their second goal was offside. So the real scandal lies there. If that's,
for sure.
Especially with supposedly a half automatic VAR system, that should never be happening.
Yeah, and you see how they got the little digital image for us on Samson's offsides. It's weird. Yeah, I don't really know what's up to.
That one is really mind-boggling. Like watching it live, at first I thought, there might be an offside in the build-up. Then looking at the replay, I was like, I guess not. But then, I did see those comments from the referees afterwards, and they all unanimously agreed offside. So I honestly, that's the type of things that I think, for the sake of transparency, they should just make a statement on.
Yeah.
Because if maybe there's a rule change, maybe there's a certain reason why that wasn't offside. Yeah. Just make a statement. This wasn't offside because of this and this reason. And that kills the conspiracy theories straight away. If you stay quiet, then you're fueling these conspiracy theories. So I don't understand. Just come out and say what... And if it was a mistake, okay, but then own up to it. And then the VAR referee, Halil Umut Meher, should be suspended.
I mean, he's a bit of a scrub too. We know how he...
Having Halil Umut Meher in the VAR room for a Galatasaray game is extremely...
That should be illegal.
extremely sus. This is a guy that is, has a reputation of being a Galatasaray fan, even a Galatasaray Congress member, I think, or something, or his uncle or something like that. So he has ties to the club, supposedly. I'm going to say that like that because I don't know for a fact. But that's the kind of stuff that I think he shouldn't be allowed to officiate their games if that's the case. That's a problem in Turkish football for sure. Referees being partisan and actually having severe preferences for teams.
But let's keep it moving.
So that was on the
because I feel like we could probably. I hope that we don't every week have to do this. Because I have a feeling the refs are going to be doing this pretty often.
I mean, that's what every time they struggled last season, the refs were there to give them a push in their back.
Yeah.
To help them across the finish line. The Kasım Pasha game towards the end of the season being one of the most egregious ones, where they give Galatasaray a penalty in the 80th minute, send off Kasım Pasha's player, and there's a clear handball by Zaha in that play.
Yeah,
Zaha, the guy that got fouled for the red card. So that should have always been that's a scandal as well. And that type of stuff has happened a lot last season, and I'm sure it'll happen again this season. Galatasaray didn't look convincing at all in their opening game, and that was a home game, so that's still different than ours, in my opinion. That's significant.
And a home game against the side that we all predicted was going to go down this year too.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget, they're coming off of a 5-0 trashing in the Super Cup by Beşiktaş.
Yeah.
And there was a real expectation. I mean, they were expected to show a reaction.
In fact, we all said that they probably would. So that's
and they didn't. They didn't show a reaction. They didn't play good. They weren't super hungry. They weren't out to set the record straight. So that's a negative for them for sure, but they get the 3 points again. And if you'll all remember last season, Galatasaray were far from impressive in the beginning of the season, but won those games also due to shenanigans and stuff like that, or just because of individual quality, like how we won. And at the end of the day, they went into the final spurt and they won the league, of course. So yes, they didn't look great on Friday, but as long as they win, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
On Saturday then, the early game was Kasım Pasha against Konyaspor, and of course Konyaspor is one of those teams that struggled and fought relegation last season, whereas Kasım Pasha is actually the team that knocked us off of 5th spot on the final match day. So
one of you guys predicted Konya to drop, right? Which one of you was that?
Not me.
Is that you, Kartal?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this
not looking game, good, pal. I'm kidding.
So Konyaspor getting off of a flying start with 3 points with a late winner by old familiar face for us, Umut Nair. So this game ended in 2-3 in favor of Konyaspor. goals here came in the 7th minute by Pedrinho in favor of Konyaspor. Then Kasımpaşa equalized in the 47th minute. Wisk put them ahead in the 73rd minute, but Daniel Aleksic, one of their new transfers who they got from Başakşehir this window, equalized in the 81st minute. And then in the 89th minute, Umut Nayır, our ex-player, took the 3 points home for Konyaspor. So a great start to the season for Konyaspor on Saturday.
That's great. I mean, the Super League is so fun. I mean, I sorry to jump the gun here, but like Gaziantep, while we were on air, won their match down a man in the 97th minute. You love to see that kind of stuff in the Super League. It really is probably the most entertaining league, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely the controversy and all that definitely brings some
yeah, and the regional issues and whatnot. No, it's great.
Were you surprised, Kartal, by seeing Konyaspor get the win?
I mean, to be honest with you, man, like they've just been a bit shaky the last couple of years. That's why I predicted go down, but I'm not going to say here that I follow the teams apart from us super closely. I don't. I mean, I follow the transfers closely. Galatasaray and Fenerbahçe's transfers I follow closely. Trabzon's too a wee bit. I don't really follow the transfers of the other teams that closely. So, like, it was just a bit of a. Konyaspor have been on the down since Ilhan.
Yeah.
That's why I put them in that. It's not that I follow them closely, and I know that, because to be honest with you, I did actually see the sound of Nayır, who's a good signing. Just looking at that team, to be honest,
for sure,
actually got some good players now. I'm looking at that team like.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they brought in a couple of really good players. They brought in Yusuf Erdogan from Adana Demirspor, Pedrinho from Ankaragücü, Umut Nayır, of course, from Fenerbahçe. But yeah, I mean,
Ndour,
he was obviously out on loan. I think Ndour was already there, but I'm not 100% sure. And then Jeftovic, they brought him in as well. He's a good player. So actually, Konyaspor are one of the teams in the Super League that were most active in the transfer market, because a lot of the teams have very minor alterations to their squads. There's very little transfers that happened in most of the teams, and Konyaspor is actually one of the teams that did reinforce themselves quite significantly. So that's also part of the reason why I think they'll definitely stay up this season, despite the fact that I'm not sure about Ali Chandala as a coach yet, but I think squad-wise they have a decent amount of quality.
Just to add to what you're saying, Karen, I've just checked. Ndour went to Konya in January, so no, not this summer, but it was just the window before he went. But
so he's relatively new, yeah.
I mean, it's worth noting Kasımpaşa has a pretty impressive team roster as well, relative to the rest of the league. So that was probably a fun match. I kind of wish I'd watched it, to be honest.
I mean,
there is a thing. On you go, sorry, Sinan, and then I'll say my point after that. Sorry, man.
No, that was it. I just, yeah.
I mean, they really feel like they overperformed last season, and if you look in this game, they also got a lot of yellow cards.
Yeah.
They got 1, 2, 3,
4, 5
yellow cards in their starting 11.
Yeah.
None of their. Oh, they only made 1 substitution. That's also pretty.
6. Yeah, Aleksic got a yellow. Yeah, it's 6 total. 1 off the bench got a yellow. Aleksic.
Yeah, but that's for Konyaspor. But
sorry, yeah, whoops, that's the wrong side.
Yeah. Kasımpaşa got a bunch of yellows. Konya only got 2, I think. But I really thought Kasımpaşa overperformed last season, because just looking at their squad right now, there's not a lot of players here that really get me excited. Like, you know, Aytaç Kara, for example, he's a good player for an Anadolu team, but I don't think he's a player that is particularly exciting.
Well, that Nuno da Costa guy killed us last year. And he scored again.
Yeah, he killed us. So. He scored 9 goals last season, and 4 of those goals came against us.
He scored
I think 9 goals. Might have been 13, actually. But
he scored again. It's worth noting. He scored against them. So.
Yeah.
But the thing about Kasımpaşa, do you guys not think in recent years they've always started the season very badly, and then they
picked it up? Yeah.
Like they always.
We always think they're going to get relegated, and then they end up like
they always get my hopes up that they will finally relegate, never to be seen again, and then they just always claw back into it, man. All right, let's move on to the next game. Antalyaspor Göztepe. Not too much to be said about this one. This one ended in a 0-0 draw, so 1 point on his debut for Alex de Souza. Göztepe, of course, a team that I think a lot of us are looking forward to seeing this season. But yeah, just the single point. I did not watch this game, but our good friend in the comments, Mario, definitely did, because he lives in Antalya, and he did mention that he thought Antalya were not great, and Göztepe were, I think the word he chose was dog shit. So
Nice.
So curious to see how these teams develop. Anything you want to add? Because I know you have a special place in your heart for Göztepe, Kartal, being from Izmir and all.
Yeah, I mean, I just want them to do well. Obviously, I'm a Beşiktaş fan. I only support one team, but I do have a slight sympathy for all the Izmir clubs, to be honest, like Göztepe, Altay, and Karşıyaka. Like, I'd like to see them all in the Super League and doing well, because I love Izmir.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, I'm born and raised in Glasgow, but my dad grew up in Izmir, and I've spent a lot of time in Izmir, and like, Izmir is my second home, essentially. So I love that city, and as much as I'm a one club man, I only support Beşiktaş, I do have a sympathy for the Izmir clubs because of that.
Yeah.
And especially like Balchova is where my dad grew up. Anyone that knows Izmir, like see the Göztepe Stadium, like the Göztepe Stadium, it's literally like a 25-minute walk from the house my dad grew up in. So like they're really close. And when I'm in Izmir, I walk past that stadium all the time. So I want to see Göztepe do well. Like, obviously, I hope we pump them, but other than that, I want them to do well, because obviously I've got
Izmir needs a good team in the league always. And it should be Göztepe, I think.
Ideally, Göztepe, Altay, and Karşıyaka should be in the Super League, man. I agree. They've all got
at least two of them. At least two.
And because like as I've said, just I'm a one club man. I don't believe in supporting two teams or anything like that. Just Beşiktaş through and through. But I do have a bit of a sympathy for them, and I hope hopefully they do well. Apart from the games against us, hopefully we pump them twice.
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you have a favorite NBA team, Kartal?
I mean, it's always been Miami Heat's kind of been my.
Oh, favorite. The Heat. Yeah, of course. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. And then the main event on Saturday was, of course, Fenerbahçe opening their season in the Şükrü Stadium against Adana Demirspor, a team that I tipped for relegation. And this game ended 1-0, a goal by Edin Dzeko in the 34th minute, and Alain Saint-Maximin got his first assist of his Fenerbahçe career as well.
You should mention Umer Günal's message, little note here.
We should definitely mention that actually Adana Demirspor played the entire game with a 15-year-old goalkeeper, and he actually had a pretty decent game. His name is Deniz Dönmezer, and yeah, he had a pretty decent game. Of course, he got beat once. Fener definitely deserved to take the lead, I felt, in this game. They were the better team until they took the lead, but then as soon as they scored, and especially in the second half, they did kind of what Gio did against Samsun.
Yeah.
But the difference being, sitting on a 1-goal lead is, in my opinion, very different than sitting on a 2-goal lead, and doing it at home against a team that I would think will struggle this season. Yeah, that's definitely not the best debut in the league for Jose Mourinho. But of course, he's probably already thinking in the back of his head of that Lille game on Tuesday or Wednesday. I have to lie about what day it is. But yeah, Fenerbahçe definitely saving their strengths there. Right at the end, or like in the second half, Yusuf Enesiri came on, and he actually had a good headed opportunity to maybe make it 2. But I think he headed it wide. So
it's funny.
He did show there. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I just compare it to the Gio approach. Like Gio was almost sort of respectful of the league, and he didn't just sort of play more defensively, but he brought in guys who were more physical because he sort of recognized that we were, kind of up against it. Whereas like for Mourinho, it almost is like if I were a Fener fan, I would be worried that maybe he underestimates the league a little bit because, like you said, to switch back like that, only a goal up. We've seen this so many times in the Super League, man. You can get hit back and like that. I was sort of counting on it, and it almost happened, right? There was like I think 2 decent chances at the end. There was could have happened.
Yusuf Barassi had like 2 good opportunities, one at the end, and then one a little bit earlier on that he really created it for himself, I should say. But I mean, I think Adana Demirspor, one of their main deficiencies is a proper target man striker. You know, of course, in the recent years they've had guys like Asson Balonga and Mario Balotelli who offered a lot of presence up top. And right now with Yusuf Barassi, I think they really could do with a Umut Nair type, and that might actually make them a little bit more effective. Are you playing with the kitty cat there, Sinan?
Yeah, he's coming over. He's coming. I'm excited. This season, you know, it's funny. I took a little flack for saying we might finish third. You know, trying to be the realist in the group.
It's super early days. It's hard to call.
Yeah. But it's funny now. Like, I mean, we had a pretty rough outing to be fair. You know, as far as our first league outing goes. But I don't know. I mean, we're in first place right now, and yeah, our rivals definitely did not impress
the count.
Our rivals did not impress me though, especially like you said, Galatasaray, right? Like we really expected a response to the way they lost against us, and it was very much the opposite, man. They seem, you know, kind of like the way they did last season, you know, and like hopefully, you know, at least hopefully maybe we can do a little bit better, you know, and put the scare in them, challenge them for that top spot.
For sure. And then talking about our rivals, Sivasspor actually held Trabzonspor to a 0-0 draw in the early game on Sunday. In this game, I only watched it peripherally. Like I said, I didn't watch it. I think I was working out at the time or something. I had it on in the background. But from what I could gather, Sivas seemed to have a decent amount of chances early on, like the first hour or so, but then tired. And then once I tuned in for like the last 10-15 minutes, once I was done working out, I did notice that Sivasspor seemed to have run out of gas, and Trabzonspor was really trying to push for the win the last 10 minutes, but it felt like they only played for about 10 minutes and they just started too late. And one of the things that really stood out to me for Trabzon was how ineffective their attacking players were. Deniz Draguš is their new striker transfer, and he's been very ineffective. I mean, obviously he was great at Gaziantep, but he has not been able to put his mark on Trabzon so far. Edin Dzeko, kind of reminiscing of the first half of last season where I thought he wasn't very good. In the second half of the season, he kind of picked things up a little bit. Nwakaeme came off the bench and had very little to no impact again. Same thing on midweek in Europe against Vienne. He didn't do anything. Like, I mean, he's 35, 36 years old. I think we can, you know, he's probably over the hill, but, you know, I'm not going to die on that hill.
Would you agree that I think it might be safe to say that Trabzon had the worst performance out of the big four, if we're going to include them?
I don't know about maybe, but they were away from home, and Sivasspor is a very difficult away game.
That's true. Yeah.
I think, you know, I honestly think Galatasaray were probably the worst because they really needed referee assistance to get it across the finish line. Whereas Fenerbahce, they probably could have. They would have had themselves to blame had they dropped points because they kind of relented themselves. They were playing well enough early on, not great. Like they were being contained relatively well by Adana Demirspor. Adana Demirspor actually did a really good job at defending, I thought. But Fenerbahce definitely played a higher gear than Galatasaray did and got the goal as a result of that. Did not concede, and then Galatasaray, I think Gala just. For me, they were the worst that I've seen properly. But like I said, you know, I didn't pay great attention to Trabzonspor. Them dropping points away at Sivas does not surprise me.
Did you see Emre's comment just now? Apparently, so Ankara Guju has a player who is just lost. They don't know where he is. That's crazy. Sorry, Kaan. I just couldn't help but laugh at that.
Yeah, maybe the guy might have gone out for a morning run or something, got hit by a car, and he's somewhere in a ditch. You don't know, man.
Hopefully not.
So let's hope it's nothing like that.
Oh, jeez. But I mean, the only reason I asked is Trabzon looked really flat. But you're right, they were on the road. I guess the contact matters. Yeah, that's fair.
Trabzon, the same as Adana Demirspor, they really lack a real striker. like Adana Demirspor are playing with like I said, Yusuf Berasse up top, who isn't. I don't think he's a proper number 9. Denis Dragoš is also not a proper number 9. And, I think if you put Paulo Onuachu in this team, despite the fact that they play poorly, I think they would have won this game. Because a guy like Onuachu can win you those types of matches because he offers you so much more. He's 2 meters tall and, they cross the ball quite a lot, but they don't really have anyone in the box. So I think if Trabzon can get in Onuachu or a Weghorst, they can definitely compete for European tickets. But at the moment, the way they are playing, the way Avci has them playing, I really can't see them competing for the championship. Like, they'll have to fire Avci and bring in Fatih Tekke or something because...
Maybe they'll bring in Şenol. Sorry.
Exactly. Talking about Fatih Tekke, by the way, Alanyaspor drew against the newly promoted Eyüpspor 1-1 in Alanya, and the main takeaway from this game
the
is
Clan
that
Prince.
Arda Turan got sent off with a red card on his Super League coaching debut. His Eyüpspor actually took the lead in the 64th minute through Saiz, but Cordova equalized in the 76th minute to salvage a point for Alanyaspor in that game. So Eyüpspor get off the ground with a point, just like Göztepe. And as Sinan had already alluded to earlier, Bodrum actually debuted with a loss.
Despite going up a man.
Yeah, and then of course Samsunspor Beşiktaş, we talked about that at length, 2-0 for Beşiktaş, which makes them the league leaders after the first match day.
Actually,
and then finally...
Oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah?
I was going to talk about this last game, which is actually like... Rizespor versus Başakşehir here is a kind of fascinating tactical, face-off, right, between two very promising young Turkish coaches.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go ahead, Kaan. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Let's talk about that. So on Monday, then the final match day, which is today, of course, these games were played, and we mentioned it earlier already, but Rizespor actually held Başakşehir to a 1-1 draw, and Bodrum lost at home against 10-man Gaziantep in the 97th minute, thanks to a goal by, let's have a look, Saborit in the 97th minute. But then let's talk about this game, Rize Başakşehir, which is obviously more interesting for us, perhaps, with Başakşehir being a potential rival. So it's actually Başakşehir who took the lead in this game through Figueiredo in the 39th minute, and then in the 6th minute of first half stoppage time, Ali Kulov equalized for Samsunspor. And interesting noting here as well, shots on target 6 for Rizespor, only 1 for Başakşehir. 12 shots in total, only 3 for Başakşehir. 61 possession for Rizespor versus 39.
Kaan, I have different stats on FiveMob. I'm seeing 23 shots by Rize to their 6. That's insane.
Well, I'm watching a live score. FotMob is probably more accurate. But yeah, it does seem like it was a very lopsided game where Başakşehir seemingly kind of stole a point almost.
Looks like it, yeah.
But not surprising, Ilan Palut did some good scouting again this summer. They brought in some exciting talent. Amir didn't even play, I think, unless he came on as a sub. Let me just check quickly.
Was he there yet?
65th minute.
Oh yeah, he did come on. Yeah, he did come on.
Hey, there you go.
In the 64th minute. And let's see, Bulju Basic, did he play? Because he's their big new signing. I don't think he started at least. But yeah, it looks like Ilan Palut has his team playing well again.
I love that he brought Amir in like a day after he arrived.
Yeah,
good sign.
For sure. Definitely. I mean, you'd expect him to play a key role in that team, right?
For sure, for sure. Well, that's fun, man. It's great to be back. Yeah. Good to see the Super League in action.
Kartal, anything to add about the Super League match day?
I mean, all I say is lider Beşiktaş, man. You know what I mean? Well, at the league.
Yeah, let's not hammer that one home too much, though. Let's hope we can say that for at least 35 more weeks.
Yeah, hopefully.
35 more match weeks.
But I mean, obviously it doesn't mean anything. It's the first game of the season, but
Exactly.
it is nice seeing our name at number one.
For sure.
For sure.
The last couple of years,
For sure.
the last few years we haven't really seen a lot of that, so it's nice.
Especially since
Definitely.
we probably had the hardest tie of any of these clubs. So
Yeah, I think together with Trabzon, we probably had the toughest
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
Well, I mean, Başakşehir, I think Rize away is really difficult as well.
that's true.
Because
I
of
wasn't
how good
including
Rize
that.
are.
We say that, man, but we absolutely spanked them when we played them in the last.
We did, yeah, but that doesn't take away the fact that they're playing really well. But that's probably also part of the reason why we did spank them, because they are an attacking team, and that's the downside of being a team that actually wants to play positive football. You might get punished sometimes as an adult
when you're
team.
playing against a team, I mean, as bad as we were last season, still in terms of individual quality, like I'd have a better team. So you're right. Like sometimes with these teams that play more positive football, they can get punished when they play just a team with like more quality than them, and that's kind of what happened. Let me think. Did we beat? No, we spanked them. We spanked them away. At home we struggled. It was a last minute winner we got. That's right.
Don't remember.
Like, remember who scored the last minute winner? No,
I don't remember.
you've erased last season from your memory.
I definitely did. Yeah, last minute winner against Rize at home. I don't know, man.
Borrow. Big Joe.
Ooh,
Whoa!
Oh, right. Yeah. That goal that was like, I wasn't even sure it was over the line. Now I remember.
heroic.
Yeah, Joe Worrell. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to the comments, and then we can round up. Sinan, do you want to take the
Sure.
comments?
I but accidentally closed it, but I can. Oh, good. We're good. All right. So we left off with the sort of, we're glad we didn't buy Mourinho. Loki Lab says, I'm already subscribing. What you guys are doing is very special. I want to ask a question before I go. Who is your Beşiktaş legend? Should I go first? Should I go first?
Yeah, go for it, man.
So historically, it was always between Sergen Yalçın and İlhan Mansız. I always liked İlhan Mansız. I'm not gonna divulge anything on air here, but Kaan and I have had İlhan's like lost a few points in my book these last few years. No, not gonna divulge why. But so I think Sergen Yalçın's probably still my guy. That said, I have a couple Atiba Hutchinson jerseys. He's clearly a great legend. I hope to see him have a statue built. And I think I've seen more Atiba like as a sort of sentient adult, who understands the sport a little bit better. So, I mean, I should say Atiba, but my heart is still pulling me towards Sergen. What about you, Kaan?
Okay. Let's have Kartal go first.
Okay.
I think for anyone that was like me, born in the late 90s, like I was born in 1998. Like anyone I think that was born in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think the answer for all of us would be Quaresma, man. It has to be Quaresma.
That's a good choice.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the first time he left, I remember almost crying in biology class in school when we tore up his contract. I mean, just the way he played, he was so entertaining to watch. Like, especially in that first stint. Like the second stint, he was a better all-round team player, but that first stint, man, just how the skill, the speed, the wonder goals. It was just an absolute joy to watch. Just the showmanship. The second stint, he was still pretty good at taking it past players. Like maybe he slowed down a wee bit, but still very good at taking past players. Great, like just really showcased that great crossing ability and created a fuck ton of goals for us, man. Like put us on his back, I think, a lot of the time in Europe. Like see in our European runs in like 16, 17, 17, 18, I think Quaresma was the main guy in those runs. And I think he was the main guy in the 16, 17 title as well. In the 15, 16 title, he played like more of a smaller role. It was more obviously Gomez and Sosa. But for me, Quaresma is my man. Like for me, he's my footballing hero, man. Like I think Quaresma is first by a fair amount.
Apparently, I've been told I looked very inappropriate. I was petting a cat. I wasn't like whacking off in the background there. So for anyone who's wondering what my hand was doing, thanks, Emre, for the point for the shout out.
All right. So, I mean, those of you who know me you will know that I'm a massive Sergen fan, as a player for sure. Also, I think when he came back as a coach, that's one of my... I just... that the way we won that championship and how he was almost functioning as a lightning rod to take the pressure off the team as much as possible. That was a very special championship. You know, the first championship I lived through. I really watched almost every game start to finish. Was the 2002-2003 championship, and obviously that was the return of Sergen, and what a return it was. It's like a movie. The way it ended, you know, with the goal in the last minute against Galatasaray, Sergen at the Şampiyonluk Geldi. I watched that live in front of in a packed Turkish cafe with lots of Galatasaray fans on one side, lots of Beşiktaş fans on the other side. That was fantastic. Sergen is my all-time favorite, I would say. But then, like, in the more modern era, obviously Ricardo Quaresma. I have lots of Quaresma shirts. I have lots of Sergen shirts as well, by the way, but I have lots and lots of Quaresma shirts. He's a really special player. I think I even said, like, before we got Rafa, just recently, I even said I never think we're going to see a player of that caliber again for Beşiktaş, like Quaresma. I don't know if Rafa is quite at that level. He's definitely a very special player. Quaresma is... I don't know. Quaresma was more than just a special player, though. He was very talismanic, iconic. He's not just an icon for Beşiktaş. He's also for football romantics around the world know and cherish a guy like Quaresma. He's really he's a massive figure in the 21st century in football. I think never really had the career that people expected him to have, but he was still very popular. He actually made a lot of people Beşiktaş fans. Like a lot of people that probably even people watching the podcast right now or on delay or whatever became Beşiktaş fans because of Ricardo Quaresma. And they're not even Turkish, you know, they're Polish, they're you know, from all over the world.
Dara, the Irish guy.
Yeah, exactly. Dara Hensey, Filip Ślesinski, like, there's just two off the top of my head that became Beşiktaş fans because of Ricardo Quaresma and continue to follow the club because of Quaresma. So I think he's a really special player. But obviously we only had him for one season, but Mario Gomez was so special as well. And then of course, Atiba Hutchinson. He's 10 years at the club. What a servant, model professional. Can't wait for his book to come out. It's coming out later this month, actually, guys. I think on the 29th of August, I want to say, or the 27th of August, his book is coming out. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon, actually. You can also pre-order it on Audible. So I highly recommend you go out of your way and you get Atiba's book pre-ordered. Free plug there for Atiba. I am hoping to maybe get someone on the show to plug the book. I have been in contact with the writers. Oh, what the hell? I literally just got a message from... This is really weird. I legitimately just got a message from his sister. Are you getting Atiba's book? What the fuck? What's happening?
Maybe she's watching. Hey,
maybe she's watching. So, I mean, I highly recommend getting Atiba's book, and I'm gonna try to maybe get somebody on the podcast to talk about the book.
I mean, see, to be honest, how good would it be if we could get Atiba himself on the podcast?
Would be amazing, but I don't know if he does that kind of stuff, man. Like, you know, he's a little...
He's quite as much as he was a great captain, he did give a kind of shy vibe as well, but what a legend.
He's actually doing... he was doing World Cup coverage for the Canadian television.
I was going to say, he was incredibly well-spoken and was a great analyst. I mean, I'd love to hear him talk more.
The sense I get from Atiba is that he's somebody who chooses his words really carefully, but he's a very cerebral person, you know, like he's very smart.
Just going off what you were saying, Kaan, I was kind of wanting to like chime in when you're talking about Quaresma and his cultural significance in football. Like, even just last week, I was talking to one of the managers in my work, Colin, and I was talking to him about the game, and I was saying how Rafa Silva is probably the most talented player we've had since Quaresma, and I never thought we could maybe get a player close to that again. And just straight away he's like, oh, Quaresma, what a player, I love that guy. And that just shows you, man, just like a football fan from Scotland, a Motherwell fan, like even he loves Quaresma as well. Like, I just back up.
I used to get comments when I would wear my Quaresma jersey around New York. I'd like the cafe, like people would always be like, I know Quaresma, like, oh, Quaresma. Yeah. Classy. All right, let me keep reading comments. Next, Jason, the penalty wasn't one in my opinion. Glad Sarah's so lucky. That was not a penalty, said Grey Wolf. Jason, TFF, said I. Umer, the penalty. Glad that gets 5 a year. I'm not shocked it got called. Jason, and then Jason says his answer to his question was Atiba and Sergen. Umer, how did Fener struggle to score against a 15-year-old on his debut game? That's the question of the week. We already addressed that. Finnish Kebab, Aytaç Kara scores only wonder goals. And then Umer, regarding Fener, says tomorrow night they play Lille. And that's the biggest game of their season so far. They cannot miss out on the Champions League campaign. Emre told us about the missing Ankara Gücü player. Jason, Quaresma was a once-in-a-generation player. Umer, there are clowns on the Super League subreddit that think Viska or Kite are bigger Super League legends than Quaresma. I mean, that's clown nonsense.
Who thinks that?
Edin Viska or Dirk Kuyt?
Dirk Kuyt?
Yeah.
I mean, Edin Viska,
No way.
Visca you can make an argument for. He's been in the Super League his entire career. He came to Turkey when he was 19 years old. But I'm not saying he is, but you can make an argument for it. But anyone who says Dirk Kuyt is a bigger Super League legend than Quaresma is mentally not well.
Yeah. Unfit.
That is just ridiculous. That is the most ridiculous thing. If you say that with a straight face, you should probably be lobotomized.
Jason, I always had a fancy for Edin Viska. Quaresma was an artist with the ball at his feet. And then Kaan, he said, can we do a book review for Patreon? I think on Atiba's book. Carly just says Oktay Derelioğlu is a legend.
I am getting the book day one, the audio book. So I will listen to it ASAP and I will review it for Patreon 100%.
I think
so.
I think the writer amongst us should be doing the review of the book. I think.
I have a lot of work to do there.
The writer amongst us? Are you throwing shade on me again, Mr. Kartal?
We've got a man that's on the verge of potentially being a
That's very true. That's very true. But this is a sports book. That's not the same thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not.
This is my wheelhouse, boy.
I suppose Kaan is a published journalist, so.
Exactly. Throwing shade here on me. What is this?
And we got one more comment in just in time. It hasn't even shut up on the screen yet because of the slight delay. Sunshine Man says, guys, you guys are playing awesome. I'd love to join you guys live sometime. It would be lovely to have something like that. Maybe someday we can have a fan cast of some sort.
Yeah, for sure. I am 100% in favor for that as well. In fact,
I also wish that we could get together live someday. Yeah, the three of us.
We should. You all come to Belgium.
And Kartal, you'd have to break your alcohol fast for us. You'd have to have a beer if we were to ever do it.
Definitely. Well, you know
peer
what?
pressure.
Maybe
I'm just kidding. No,
we can do like a live recording one day at a game or something. But
oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Hardware-wise, I don't know how we have to fix that. But yeah, actually, you know what? That is something I really like, the idea of doing a fan profile, because obviously because of the niche of our podcast, we have fans that grew up in all different kinds of places in the world. And I would just love, if you guys are interested in this or in doing this, I would love to sit down with you guys, do a short interview, maybe 25-30 minutes, just you talking about how you became a Beşiktaş fan, where you're from, what sparked the love, what has kept you in love with the club for as long as you have been. Things like that I think could be very nice additional content for our YouTube channel, so doing like those types of videos. So if that is something you would love to do, reach out to me. In fact, you know, guys, this is a great moment for us to plug, I think, our WhatsApp community. If you go into the show notes right now, you can find the link to our WhatsApp community. And if you follow that link, you will essentially just, you know, come into a big group chat with everyone from the podcast, me, Sinan, Kartal, Yasin, who does a lot of help behind the scenes as well. And a lot of the regulars you see in the live chat, like Ömer, like Mario. Carlito, you know what? I think you're not there. You're literally in every single one of our live shows. You're in the live chat. And I correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you're on our WhatsApp community. So if you don't have WhatsApp, install it. Come and join us on there, man. And anyone who's watching, I'd love for you to join in the WhatsApp community. It's also a good place for us to get some feedback, for us to ask questions before we go live, and that kind of stuff.
And to answer your question, Sunshine Man, the book is called The Beautiful Dream, a memoir. And regarding Atiba, I was going to... No, I'm not going to...
I thought you were talking about your book for a second, but it's Atiba's book. Yeah.
No, that's the name. And I just gave you the Numa salute. But yeah, I guess we should probably wrap this thing up, huh?
Yeah, you know what, Sinan, you're going to start on your final round of editing on your book, right?
Yes,
so
yes, I am.
When you finish your book, be sure to plug it. Because can we already know what it's called?
No, I haven't named it. I've saved that for last. Okay. I have some ideas, but none of it would make a lot of sense without some context.
Okay.
But yeah, no, definitely. If I would love, of course, to get it published, but then to be able to talk about it. Maybe we can get some secondary casts going on the Patreon thing. We've talked about the NBA. We could get a whole maybe we could get a book review podcast going at this rate. Yeah, I don't know. We could have a lot of fun.
Sunshine Man says, you speak of Ricardo Quaresma, but how can you neglect Pascal Nouma? You know, I think Pascal Nouma is a great figure for us Beşiktaş fans because of how he latched onto the fandom and all that. But I think if we're honest, in terms of impact, I mean, he had a very significant impact because of the fan culture and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think he's on the same level necessarily as Quaresma. Although don't get me wrong, I love Pascal Nouma. I think he's great. He's a great advocate of the club, great representative of the club. He's actually someone I would love to have on the show one day. He's a legend in his own right, 100%. But you know, Quaresma won how many championships with us? 3, I think. No, 2. 2 championships. Yeah. A Turkish Cup. The best European campaigns in modern history, bar 2002-2003, which Pascal Nouma was actually part of as well, and he of course won that championship. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, Nouma he's not up there necessarily for me personally. Like I said, my top 3 is Sergen, Quaresma, Atiba, and if Mario Gomez would have played for us longer, he definitely would be there as well. But because of Atiba's longevity and just what he's meant for the club, he's my number 3, and my number 1 is Sergen. My number 2 is Quaresma, I think.
I've actually met Pascal Nouma in Istanbul.
Yeah. What? Oh, okay. I thought I thought maybe when he was in Scotland.
No. I met him in the old Istanbul Atatürk Airport. I was on a week-long holiday with me and my twin brother Özcan and 2 of my friends from here in Scotland. We went to. It was 2018. We actually went to the Beşiktaş Galatasaray game. The one where Light scored the penalty. We won 1-0.
Yeah.
In the airport, on the way back, we were hungover after a pub crawl the night before. We were eating some burgers in the airport, and then suddenly there's this guy just wearing a kind of, what was it? I forgot the name of the hat. See, like the Peaky Blinders style hat. A bonnet, that's what they call it, a bonnet. He was wearing a bonnet, he had glasses on. And this guy just comes up behind us. Me and my brother are wearing Beşiktaş merch. Özcan was wearing
yeah.
He put his hand on my brother's shoulder. Özcan turned around and just looked up at him. And then he takes off the glasses. And he says, do you know who I am? Then Özcan says, you're Pascal Nouma, right? And then he was such a nice guy. Like, he hugged and kissed us all. Like, he's a French. Obviously, that's a Turkish thing as well. Like, my pals as well. And me and Nuzcan said, "Oh, can we get a photo with you, Pascal?" And he said, "Of course." So we got a photo with him as well. I think surely we've shared it in the group chat before, man. Surely. But yeah, he was a really, really nice guy. Like, normally these kind of celebrities would try and like stay away from taking photos, but this guy actually approached us because we're wearing our Beşiktaş merch.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I mean, I think that's the thing. That's his legacy, right? Like, he was a good player for us, but I think he became one of our biggest supporters, and I think that is so unique. You don't see that very often in football. I think when a player becomes that enthralled and intertwined with the club as a supporter, and even during his active playing career.
And he had a quite high profile, like, in the world of football for a time. So
I mean, I think his highlight was definitely with us, but I think he played for Strasbourg for a while. I think he came out of the Paris Saint-Germain academy, if I'm not mistaken, but of course that was before Paris Saint-Germain or what they are today. And then after his first stint with us, he went to Marseille. Then he came back, obviously. And actually, you remember he went briefly to Scotland, actually, Kartal, but I think you were way too young back then still. But this is gonna date me. But back then, when Kartal, me and Sinan, maybe it might have been when Sinan, you and me met already. I'm not 100% sure. It might have been the blackeagles.org forum. I'm not 100% sure if it was that or if it was already Soccer Fans Network. But when he was playing for Livingston, I actually got to know some Livingston fans online. And one of them was so kind, he ended up getting me a signed picture of Numa from a magazine, from a Livingston fan magazine. He got it signed for me and he sent it to me in the mail. And I have an autographed picture of Pascal Numa because of that Livingston fan. And I feel so bad because this is like 20 years ago. I don't remember the guy's name. I have lost complete contact with him. So I feel so bad about that because like it was really cool. So let's go Livy. That's Livy. That's what they called Livingston. So that's my team in Scotland.
Yeah.
Celtic and Rangers. Let's go Livy.
He played for Livingston 04-05. So I was like six when he started playing for them and 7 when he left. So I was still quite young. Yeah. I mean, not too young, but still fairly young. But yeah, man, like it's quite cool that he played in Scotland. That's quite cool. And if you actually noticed during the Euros, he had a photo with some Scotland fans in kilts. I'd imagine they were probably Livingston fans that recognised him from his time there. And that's why they would have got that photo.
Toya says, please tell Kartal we cannot understand his thick accent, but we still love him.
Oh, thanks.
By the way, Kaan, we have a question before we go. One last question for you to answer. Yeah. Where can folks access our WhatsApp link?
Our what? Our WhatsApp link. So in the show notes, if you click on the details from the show, like the show notes. Yeah. If you tap on that, there should be at the bottom or near the bottom, there should be a link. So let me just check quickly at our show notes. So if you press more, because it's obviously near the bottom. So there's join our WhatsApp community and there's the link to the WhatsApp community. You can just click that, follow that, and you will end up in our WhatsApp group chat with a lot of other Beşiktaş fans and of course followers of the podcast. There's also a link there to all our social media like Twitter and stuff, a link to our Patreon page. And there's also a link there to, if you want to throw something in the tip jar, there's a link there as well as some people did earlier on already. Thank you very much for that. So if you want to join the WhatsApp community, just go into the show notes and follow the WhatsApp community link.
All right. Let's wrap this sucker up.
Is there anything else in terms of comments that we want to talk about?
I think we've addressed them all. Just about. I mean, some sort of off the cuff ones. Hey, there's Toya in the chat. Atiba's sister.
Did you just say Atiba's hot sister?
No, I was going to say Atiba Hutchinson, and I cut myself off, and I said Atiba's sister. No, Kaan, come on now. I'm a married man, for crying out loud. I'm gonna get you in trouble. Okay.
Doesn't mean because you're married that you can't comment on, the
someone's attractiveness.
I mean,
you guys are always talking about
appearance of somebody of the opposite sex.
Remember how much you commented on Loris Karius back then?
Yeah, man, Loris Karius. I mean, Thor. The god of thunder. Probably the most handsome man to ever wear a Beşiktaş shirt. No offense, Toya, to your brother, of course, who was a handsome man in his own right.
But anyway, what I will say, what I always have to end each episode with, don't. I'm not trying to jump scare anyone, but it's still important to say, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody. We'll be back soon.
Peace out, everyone. Go check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast for our VIP audio show. Is 7-day free trial and just $1.99 a month if you want to continue your trial afterwards. And also, thank you for listening and continue. And don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Bye bye.
Alright.
Şimdi Bobo'nun önüne. Bobo aldı. Bobo girdi. Bobo çok babasın. Çok harikasın. Çok güzelsin. Harika. Bobo! 2-0. Yoldan geldi.